Welcome in, everybody. This is the Oversight X Hyperlux Apex Legends Circuit. This is Split 2, week number 2, and we are excited for the matches coming up. Some of the best teams across North America competing for $5,000 tonight on the line. I'm Magic Moonshot, joined by Captain Atsuka, who's looking very dapper, I might say, in the vest combo over there.
Oh, shucks, you're making me blush over here, Magic. What are you doing to me? But no, regardless, I am so hyped to get into this one. I've been literally counting down the days until I could finally get on the desk with you to go over some of this Apex Legends, and it's going to be top tier. You already know, we got the best of the best, some of the best teams from the ALGS getting ready to go head-to-head, like you said, for $5,000. Just for tonight, for the weeklies. Keep in mind that you can still go into the playoffs later on to try and get yourself within the conversation for the prize pool that will be $20,000, but that's going to be later on in January.
Yeah, mid-January is that $20,000 final, so definitely something that these teams have their eyes set on. But in order to get there, they need to qualify through these 6 weeks. And now, heading into week number 2, we see a lot of teams coming back with familiar names from week number 1, but a few teams have gotten shaken up. How this works is the top 10 from last week Friday, they automatically qualify for tonight, but the bottom 10 had to go back to a qualifier round on Tuesday and earn that spot in tonight's competition. So that's why you'll see a little bit of a variety of names, although I think those standout teams, right, still have their spots locked in. So for you, Atsuka, what team do you have your eye on for tonight?
Now, you already know the team I have my eye on, but unfortunately, they didn't qualify. They're not here. So now I have to come up with a new team to keep my eye out on. Okay, can I have two?
I'll let you have two. I'll let you.
Okay, let me have two. Okay, Counter Logic Gaming and Furia Esports. One, because, okay, hear me out, because Furia, absolutely nuttery buttery. His Watson, again, you know, just not necessarily leading the charge, but definitely doing the most for Furia. Counter Logic Gaming, and this is what I love from CLG, is because I'm not necessarily a stan, but I would consider myself a fan, okay? Because I was watching them when CLG wasn't necessarily like doing their best. They weren't playing so hot. Now we're seeing them come in second place during week 1, you know, right underneath FaZe. So again, watching CLG on the come up has been so much fun for me.
Dude, watching those teams rise from the bottom of the pack and then making their mark is absolutely something that you love to see. You know, that dark horse, that unexpected, the X Factor team. And I agree with you. His Watson is always great for the content, always giving us something to talk about. Now, FaZe do lead overall, as you referenced. That's definitely a team that I have a little bit of more invested, I think, in that FaZe lineup. I don't know what the line is between fan and stan, but I'm probably somewhere in that gray area. But I'm obviously looking for Snipe Down to come out. I do a lot of Halo casting. Snipe Down now moving over to Apex Legends, a player that I want to see keeping on, staying at the top of the leaderboard and really making a great showing here for tonight. So that gives you a little bit to look at. But again, 6 weeks before we get to the finals and things are just starting to ramp up.
Honestly, I can't wait for it. And, you know, we're talking about teams, another team that not necessarily I'm keeping my eye on, so to speak, but a team that is worth mentioning, I think HEC, for those I'm sure that remember this was previously Atlanta Premier. This is a great squad. They came in second at their own invitational, and they came in second to Furia. So this is a team that does have a lot of potential. So they can come through today and really make some waves. And I'm going to be not necessarily having my focus set on them, but don't be surprised if their name comes up in the conversation.
I think that's the thing that excites me the most about the 6 matches tonight is that there's so many team or individual names that could come out huge tonight. Like, it's such a tight lobby of 20, 10 that qualified from last week and then 10 that had to play through another qualifier. So, you know, there's kind of like layers to the competition to get us down to the 20 teams today. So we could look at that team list and name a team and say they might be the ones to watch out for. They might. And right now we're just, you know, we're giving our best shot, our best analysis of what to expect. But honestly, I can't wait to be like surprised, right? I can't wait to find out which team, which player makes that standout play that catches us off guard. That's something that I will be looking for.
Absolutely. And, you know, we were talking about the format, and again, just for a friendly reminder for the folks at home, yes, I just hit my pop filter. How about that? Yeah. But regardless, you know, we're talking about the format, not about my pop filter. And for a friendly reminder for the folks at home, we're talking 6 total matches tonight, 3 on World's Edge, 3 on Stormpoint, and we're going to start things off on World's Edge. And of course, this is like the Apex map. When you think Apex, more often than not, you're going to think about World's Edge. This is where we spent the most of our time. It's where we're going to continue to go. It's everybody's favorite, but I kind of want to talk about Broken Moon real quick.
Ooh,
It's the newest one. I like it. I think it should be added into the rotation.
Here's the thing for me with Broken Moon, and the way that has played for me is a little bit more similar to Stormpoint with the mountain ranges and the obstruction. My key, I guess, that has worked for me in the last few weeks of playing ranked is always rotating early, and I think that's what we'll see in any map, but I feel like it's even more important on a map like Broken Moon, or even to an extent with Stormpoint, because if you get caught on the wrong side of a mountain range, I have also had the misfortune of dying to a storm because we were cut off by obstruction in your way. So playing the circle wisely, I think, is something that is a key factor for success. And that kind of applies to any map. I'm just saying that in the sense of Broken Moon in particular.
Now, you see, and what you just described is the very reason why Valkyrie has a 90% pick rate.
Yes.
Now, that might have changed. We have seen many changes happening in the meta, and speaking of which, last week, we saw the return, not necessarily the full return, but we saw the happenings of crypto making their way back into the meta, and I am wondering, are we going to see that again here today?
I mean, I would love to see some more cryptos. A variety of legends always just adds a little bit of flavor, a little bit of spice to the mix here. So even on that quick glimpse of the teams as they are dropping in, saw a variety of legends here across the board. Of course, you're going to have your Valkyries, you're going to have your Seer, maybe even some Bloodhounds we had talked about, a rise of the Bloodhounds coming back up. And I love to see Hal obviously rocking that horizon. Great mobility, great attack potential with that ultimate. And you see the spread here from that dropship.
And honestly, you know where my eye instantly went? FaZe Snipe down. Look at FaZe. They're running immediately straight to Geyser, which is an interesting POI. And you know, this right here is my favorite countdown. We're getting into the nitty gritty. Already 2 teams here. Furia already off into the races. You can see over down low, they do have one player already getting that purple shield, and they are making the most of this POI off the rip. And Furia, so far, it looks as though they may have an advantage on this other team that's here.
I mean, speaking of advantage on the drop, though, you have that purple armor, but you also have a wingman in hand, which can deal out so much damage without needing a huge stockpile of ammo. You compare it to a personal favorite of mine, the Volt here. It can have a great utility, but looking at 2 clips of ammo, I don't know if that's going to be enough to get the job done.
Now, you see, this is why I love Furia. Look, they're not even wasting any time. They're off to the hunt. They're trying to track these players down. And finally, you can see his Watson and Pandas are finally going to back off. And I got to tell you, lucky for that team to get away, because when you're challenging Furia on their POI, they love to fight.
Yeah, they kind of scared them away from that drop point at countdown, so now they double back and they have some time to loot, but it looks like Dark Zero over there kind of rotating outside a lava fissure, so a potential for a fight. But meanwhile, on the other side of the map, we do have what looks from first view an even battle, a lot of blue armor in hand as we're on board here with Complexity.
Well, here we go. They are going to be taken to the high ground already, and look at this, going straight to the Dirty 30. I like it. I like the G7 Scout more, but I still like the Dirty 30. Nothing wrong with it, especially when you get those head clicks. Oh, so crispy. Now, you can see again, it will be a quick movement and rotation coming from the side of Complexity, trying to find at least some early KP, but I think they still need to loot up just a little bit more.
Yeah, and it looks like every time we rotate to a fight, somebody gets scared away. Are we going to see a full fight to the completion? Maybe over here with NRG all whitey-tighty on the armor, something you don't like to see, but doesn't seem to be stopping Sweet. He's still pushing in on this attack with the Valkyrie.
Hey, pros don't fake. Once you go for that charge, you don't back off. You commit. And right now, we're seeing the commitment from NRG. And this is the same team that tried to escape from Furia over on Countdown, and they ran right into NRG. Talk about unfortunate.
Oh, fights going left and right, but it looks like C9 might be in a bit of trouble. There's a knock. The Bangalore is going down. That's going to put some extra pressure, but it did look like they traded a kill for a kill. In fact, they get all 3 Complexity. First team to go out by the hands of C9, but no rest for the weary. They have to pop that revive, get some health off quickly because another fight is waiting for them.
Oh, big bet. And again, go after Zachmaster over there with the G7 Scout. Go ahead, try your luck here. As you can see now, the full push is coming in, and BRD are on the hunt. They are making their way indoors here from the outside in, trying to get a read, looking towards getting the shoulder peek there, is able to deal a little damage, and now the Flatty doing an absolute monstrosity of damage. Able to get one knock there, looking to actually put an end to this team, but already you can see FaZe working their way in for the third party.
And here's FaZe, that team that was the first place from last week, but they might be a little disadvantaged here when it comes to shields. That's not going to slow them down, though. A little peek through the window, a little bit of laser fire. Trading now, one dead on either side, but Snipedown is going for maybe the clutch revive. Looks like it is canceled there, and in fact, he's going to be taken down as well, leaving only one player left for FaZe against the Seer. Has the shots out. Can they clean up this last kill? Baiting for the revive.
Oh, this isn't a bait. They're going to commit to that one because you already saw that the receiving party in that exchange had to try and get their shields up. That Seer literally nearly eliminated there, so they could stick that revive easy. But now we're seeing a third and even a fourth party coming in to clean up the eliminations on FaZe Clan.
So many teams clustered here, wanting those kill points and wanting the loot that comes from those kills as well. Remember, 1 point per kill, which is the objective in this early game. We're not thinking about placement right now. We're thinking about getting looted up, and we're thinking about getting some early points in this game, number one. We're kind of switching over here to CLG. I see in the kill feed, HEC is eliminated. That was one of the teams you said, hey, watch out for them. Unfortunately, we had to watch for them in the kill feed.
Unfortunate. We did watch out for them, but unfortunately, it wasn't the way that we thought we would. Regardless, now we can see So trying to heal up now, as it looks like they might try and get involved in some altercations as well. Meanwhile, we're going to head back over towards reverse psychology, trying to find some early KP. And, you know, we were talking about being able to get these exchanges earlier. Need I mind you, in the qualifiers, we saw G2 take the entire qualifier, come in first with 56 KP. That is insane.
Yeah, G2 was not a team in week number one, either the Fires or the top 20. But when they came out this week on that Tuesday qualifier, they took it by storm. They not only got that first place, mentioning the kill point, the kill count as well, but I believe they had 105 total points, about a 40-point advantage over second place. So really some good momentum for G2 heading into today's match.
Yeah, now you can see Tigre trying to get their way in and getting in on that KP, being able to find their way through the Newcastle shield, and just like that, MPS will be eliminated.
No respect for the shield there from the Newcastle. Again, another legend that you love to see kind of sneaking its way into the rotation, and the drop shield was good, but it wasn't enough. It really got shredded, melted, taken down. We're looking at 14 squads left over here on board now with Optic Gaming. They got 2 purples and a blue to work with, and they are rocking the Caustic as well as the Gibby. They got some tanky legends on this squad.
Now, you see, this is actually old meta here, and I'm talking like maybe 2 seasons ago. This was the comp everyone was going with. They were bringing the Gibby, they were bringing the Caustic, and this is why the Orbital Strike, the defensive bombardment, going absolutely brazy, and again, for a long time standing, was one of the best ultimates in the game, and now you can see at least the Caustic from Optic does go down. Meanwhile, unfortunately for Optic Gaming, it looks as though they might be on the verge of being eliminated, and there you have it! Optic does go down, and they are out.
LG cleaning up those kills, and the fact that they were able to stay 3 up in that fight as well means that they are so ready for either a quick rotation or if a third party was going to sneak through. But it looks like they have some time. Looking at the overview on the map, perfectly cute, by the way, shout out to the production team. Geyser is their home. Meanwhile, G2, bottom left of your screen, are rocking at Harvester, but look at how many teams are clumped up on this eastern side. There's going to be from 13 teams down to 8 in just maybe a minute.
Yeah, and this is where it all comes down to. You know, we always talk about getting early KP just so that way, regardless, no matter where you place, you want to end the match with at least some points on the board, which is important. But this is what it's all about. This is the late game that we're heading into. Now that we have already seen, you know, rings number 1 and 2, getting ready to close, getting ready to head into ring number 3, this is where things start to get interesting.
I can't wait. Like, I'm like on the edge of my seat right now, Captain, because this is the part of the game that's like, this is like the meat of the match, right? Like, this is where it gets nice and juicy. This is where the KP comes through. This is where you narrow down that list of squads quickly and prep for that final, you know, end game finish. So we'll see some more ultimates coming out. We'll see the abilities, and we'll see which strategies pay off.
Yeah, speaking of, we're making our way over to Synox there for the Sentinels. Now, keep in mind, they just barely qualified after Synox was able to 1v3 on Monday. So let's see if they can bring that magic to tonight. As you can see, they are going to get knocked, but Synox is still up and in the fight, and with an Ash pick, no less.
Oh, I love to see Synox with that gold armor. It's going to make getting back into the fight so much quicker. Just popping a shield cell to get that last 50 on that gold shield allows teammate to get the revive. They're back to 3 strong. Love to see Sentinels coming off of that clutch from qualifiers, still having a little bit of that fuel, I think, for today's match.
Yeah, take a look at this. Some dirty 30 action coming from Passion. Being able to get a couple of hit markers through the smoke, but not much doing there. And this is part of the reason why we're seeing Bangalore even make a return in the meta. And out goes the ult, knocking Passion off of the top, putting them back down into tunnel. Not being able to get a read, but what a laser going right down Main Street to crack at least one shield from ESA.
Now, listening to Zephyr from last week, ESA was a team to watch, according to him. Fiery and untested with a little bit of a roster change here on the side of ESA. So far, though, they're rising to the challenge. Maybe they're a little bit more tried and true after last week's game. So hoping that they can continue to dominate. They've dominated in qualifiers. Can they dominate in this top 20 lobby?
Now, speaking of dominating, Furia on the prowl now, looking to dominate whatever team is on the receiving end of what is about to be some massive damage, and you can see it will be his Watson just backtracking a little bit, wondering where this team escaped to, and now here comes the deep flank from all the way on the other side of the bridge, as Furia will now be on the receiving end of the hunt themselves.
You see that Bloodhound scan coming through, locations being revealed, but they're not giving up that footing. 16 shield cells in the Horizon's pocket to pair with that gold armor. They're sitting pretty when it comes to the heals, but they really want to lock down this bridge position before they need to rotate for next circle. They have 2 minutes and 14 seconds as the circle closes, and you know, I have to call myself out. I was wrong about the number of teams that were going to drop. I was a little bit eager on the squad count. We're still sitting at 12.
Yeah, you know what's funny? That I'm looking at Nick Merckx right now, and I'm thinking to myself that this composition coming from their squad is the new meta. We already talked about the old meta, which was the Caustic, Jibby, Valkyrie. This is more in line with new meta, which is Horizon, Valkyrie, Seer. But the thing about it is that that meta is in the wake of changing as well, especially with the rise of Bloodhound being used like teams like Furia. We may see a new composition coming out for a lot of these A-tier teams.
I agree that this might be the evolving meta, and it's constantly shifting, and now we're headed into a battle of the Titans right here. Here comes Nick Merckx and the rest of the team closing in. I believe it is Furia here inside. Down, trying to lob some ordnance down. Here comes the 1v1 fight. Both players dealing out some damage. Shields are being cracked, but Fury are staying 3 up. They are all but winning on this fight. The last player has their shield cracked, and they need to just come through and clean up that last kill. They're going to get the kill points here on the 2. The last player has to decide now. Do they bail on this fight or come back for tags?
No, they ain't coming back. I would like to see, but hold the phone. Is this a third party or is this the same team? Hold the phone. ESA, smell blood in the water. They're making their way in, and they're looking to put an end to Furia here in the 3rd round. And now look at Passion with the Bokak with some straight Legolas accuracy, being able to put an end to Furia.
Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, NRG, we have FaZe here. Looks like they just cleaned out Sentinels, who we were talking about clutching that spot from the qualifiers. That's going to be the end of their game 1 run, but that leaves NRG versus FaZe. Here we go, the shots coming out. We got a 301 car combo. Players down for both sides. That Watson being a menace. But again, that window has been the best friend of the attacking team. NRG scoping through the window, cleaning up the final kill.
Yeah, well, what goes around comes around. You deal out the 3rd party, well, guess what? Now you got the 4th, 5th, and 6th party to worry about. Both TSM and CLG now have their eyes fixed on NRG. And now, here comes Imperial Hall, trying to make their way in and get a read with the Dirty 30.
No way.
Tries to shoot through the stairs, but they don't connect.
No, unfortunately, those risers and those treads are blocking the shots for now. But hey, I appreciate the commitment. I want to see one of those shots connect, but it's not like that window, right? That window was really the key, not the staircase. So maybe if you try to aim through the window, you get the shots. We've already seen 2 knocks through the same window on the outside of Overlook.
I just got to take a moment to like just kind of revel in the fact that Imperial and I use the same Dirty 30 skin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Things
I didn't even know that.
You and he have in common. It might be a small Venn diagram, but at least there's one item. It's the weapon skin.
As you can see, the circle ever getting smaller and smaller, and you can see already one team already dead smack in the middle with NRG right outside where the final circle could be heading. And they are pretty solidified in this little building that they have. I don't know if they're going to be able to hold out because that is just a util dump waiting to happen.
Absolutely. The right amount of there's throwables, you get the frags in there, thermites. I mean, if they have a Watson ult, that can help to kind of preserve it, but like those are mostly open windows, you know, they're not glassed over, there's not doors. So definitely that cable car could just be building yourself into a casket if you commit to it too hard. Speaking of committing though, G2, we said they were the winners of the qualifier from Tuesday. So coming out here in game 1, they weren't a part of last week's top 20. I feel like they might be the team coming out with something to prove. They want to get on that leaderboard, and they want to do it in a dominant fashion.
And I'll be honest, when you're coming into qualifiers dropping 56 KP, you set the bar pretty high for yourself already.
True.
Now, and again, if I'm capping, say captain's capping, but now we have expectations. You are able to drop 56 KP. I want to see you keep that same energy.
Yeah, I would love to see them coming out here. I mean, they're already in the top 7, but can they break into like top 3, I would say, is where that real chunk of placement points are going to come into play. But the test is coming straight at them. Here comes LG versus G2, and now the fight is going to be going down really weak on the Valkyrie, but there's the beautiful Gibby bubble that I am such a fan of coming in clutch to help out the teammate once again.
Yeah, and speaking of, there goes the defensive bombardment. That's what you got to be worried about. That is going to deal so much damage. Look at this. Already purple shields you can see nearly being able to get cracked, and somehow they avoid the danger and they avoid the damage. Now, here comes the push from Luminosity, but look at the laser coming out from Moranita, being able to get at least one knock there, and all of a sudden, Luminosity is on the receiving end of a third party.
Oh, Luminosity is in trouble, but no, look, G2 eliminated, not making it to top 3, not even making it to top 5, and then Luminosity just seconds behind both teams, taken out. Here comes the push, and now falling back, recharging that shield. What an incredible amount of damage being dealt out. CLG also eliminated. We're down to just 4.
Yep, that we are the final 4, as you can see, TGRD. Now, finding themselves in a good position, and this is why Watson is so viable. Not only do they set up a great defense, but having that somewhat of a trophy system, being able to deny all the damage and deal out max damage as they are looking to corral this team into elimination, and now Esports Arena are next on the chopping block.
Oh man, it's been one after the other, and now we're looking at some very hefty placement points as well as the kill leader right here on the side of NRG. They have as a team at least 6 kills. I'm sure it's more than that already with that 5 on the kill leader guild. So hoping to add on to that with more KP and even better if they can get that first place finish. But TSM looks like the knocks are coming through for them onto the guard. The guard are going to be in a little bit of trouble if TSM can capitalize on those knocks.
Well, let's see how this one plays out. We are now down to our final 3, and TSM looking pretty good right now, but I gotta say, it doesn't look like they were able to amount a lot of KP. They're gonna have to get a lot of this done in the placement points and maybe even try and take game number 1 here as they are trying to get to the high ground. Again, using the rocks to their advantage, this is what we see all the time, but being able to take it and being able to hold it is 2 entirely different things, as now you can see NRG in the middle of a pinch.
No, TSM, they have the position. They're not trapped in the middle of that pinch. They can pick the fight when they want to, and they have some great circle position. So this is really their game to take or to throw away, as the case may be. Love to see the guard here in the mix as well, but they seem to be very at a disadvantage here as far as circle position goes. And here comes that beautiful scout rifle, those satisfied plink, plink, plink of the shots coming through, just being a nuisance to the teams that are trying to hold any scrap of real estate.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you. Head clicks are just music to my ears. It's just so wonderful, as now you can see TSM, like you said, in great positioning right now. The only thing that would make matters worse is a defensive bombardment. So if there's a Jibby still up somewhere, just be careful. Look at this, and now guard sitting out Keon. Yeah, going in for the revive here. That's just bait. That's the literal only reason, I think, to try and bring back someone off the dropship. Already receiving tons of damage from Verhulst. And there you have it. We are still stuck in a good old-fashioned standoff.
You see this building that TSM is firing at? That has been the place to be. Like, that's where the parties are happening. That is the popular spot in this first game. Number one is that building. Now, one thing working for the guard is that you see Keon off of that respawn is able to find a death box. There have been so many fights happening all game long at Overlook, so he kind of has his pick of loot off of that reboot and maybe has a chance to get back in this action. I would still say guard are in a tough spot. They seem to be the weakest on shields. Even the ammo count looks like it could become an issue.
I'll be honest, that was probably one of the most clutch revives. I was even doubting it. I was like,
yes.
Why even bother? Why even bother bringing them back other than to be, you know, 301 or G7 Scout fodder? But no, they managed to clutch it out, and they're still standing.
They're kind of using this third team as almost like a buffer, right? They're holding back as long as they can. A nice little rotation there just to get out of range of the incoming Arc Star. Luckily, some batteries to work with. Again, look at the ammo count, though. TSM, this scout rifle can deal out so much damage, but only 2 clips to work with. I'm wondering if that's going to be enough.
Well, they're going to have to make it enough, as, you know, some would say. As you can see right now, TSM still trying to get their KP up. Only at least 2 on the board so far as they look to try and take this game number 1. And now TSM trying to get the peek out and towards the guard. They do deal a lot of damage, but the ring literally at the back of Imperial Hal, and they will get knocked.
No, it didn't look like Hal had any batteries, so no quick big heals to work with. And therefore, after that peek, just got melted. So punished for that second out of position. Still, they stayed alive until now. TSM is out, leaving us with the guard on the run, trying to heal, running through Watson fences. This would be an incredible comeback if the guard can clutch this up.
Yeah, but they're going up against NRG, so this is going to be tough no matter which way you look at it. And there you have it! The guard managed to come out on top, holding up in that fortification, and then being able to rotate in and out flawlessly. Game number 1 goes to the guard. You know, that reboot might have been the risky play, but it was the play that won the game, getting back to 3 strong for that final fight, giving the guard the game 1 victory. We've had so much action, including here. We saw the guard taking out that Newcastle at the bottom of kind of the subway tunnel, and from then it looks like they didn't slow down until they were crowned the champions. And look, this is it. This is the hot spot. This is where all the action went down for the entire game. This is literally where, like you said, the party was at, but unfortunately, it was mostly third parties. That's what we saw all game long. And of course, just constant exchanges being made, constant trades from such a long distance. I got to tell you, the ability of a lot of these players to absolutely laser from so far out is nothing short of impressive until finally you just got to rush in to get the win, and the guard managed to get it done in game 1. You know, I have to give you credit for that, Captain. You mentioned that little cable car being almost a death trap, and in the end, it was the tomb and the team on the outside being able to pick the fight in the timing that they want was the way to win the day. So congrats to the guard for taking game number 1. They had some great KP. I think all top 3 teams had some great KP, a lot of action happening. And I gotta shout out the observers as well. I didn't feel like we had one slow moment. I need to catch my breath, and this is just game number 1. Yep, that it is. And with game number 1 in the books, let's take a look at the standings so far. The guard, 12 placement points, 12 KP, getting 24 total points there in game number 1. They had an absolutely outstanding game.
How tight is this scoreboard though? From 3rd all the way down to 11th is only 5 points. And I know that's game 1, right? That's what it shows you. But I have to say the guard, NRG, looking very strong in both placement points and kills. They were the teams that were leading the way, setting them off on a good pace. We are going to be heading into game number 2 here shortly. We're going to cut to a quick break. When we come back, game number 2, we'll be diving back into World's Edge. That peak just got melted, so punished for that second out of position. Still, they stayed alive until now. TSM is out, leaving us with the guard on the run, trying to heal, running through Watson fences. This would be an incredible comeback if the guard can clutch this up.
Yeah, but they're going up against NRG, so this is going to be tough no matter which way you look at it. And there you have it! The guard managed to come out on top, holding up in that fortification and then being able to rotate in and out flawlessly. Game number 1 goes to the guard.
You know that.
You have about 15-20 seconds to really get the job done. Design going in, and the wingman is singing. Design needs to be careful to go down as well.
Looks like a G2 cleanup. It looks like it, but there's only one player left. We have a 1v1, and it is G2, the winners of game 2.
Who is going to try to push up here. Getting high with the horizon. Really nice shots there.
This is G2 now.
Okay, yeah, G2 going to clean up both teams most likely.
Advantage right there.
That is a rat's nest of walls and fences, but yeah, the height, they're going to go ahead and jump in. Crypto ult.
Oh my.
G2 is in the thick of it.
Versus G2. Oh my gosh, Design. Design, chill. Chill with those shots.
Well, hello and welcome back to Oversight X Hyperlux Apex Legends Circuit Split 2 Week 2. Once again, I am Captain Etsuka, joined on the desk by none other than Magic Moonshot. Magic, how are we feeling after that game 1?
Oh man, that was exactly what I wanted to see. We had so many like storylines kind of playing out right in front of us, but at the end of the day, it felt like non-stop action. Overlook is definitely not a section of the map that you should overlook. In fact, that was where we saw death boxes stacking as high as Christmas presents under the tree. So we'll see how the circle plays out as we head into game number 2, but I am left from game 1 feeling very excited for how this will continue to develop.
Honestly, I'm just really hyped for the guard. You know, going into this one, we were talking about teams that we're interested in, teams we're keeping our eye on, and we just kind of glazed over the guard. That was our mistake. Now, all eyes are on the guard. Currently in first with 24 points. That's 12 placement points and 12 KP. We saw a lot throughout game number 1. Some teams were either getting a lot of early KP, getting a lot of trades, or they were teams like TSM that weren't able to amount a lot of KP, but they did well in the placement points. The guard was able to come in clutch on both. So being able to get that early lead is only going to continue to bode well for their morale and momentum as we get ready to head into game number 2.
And look at this circle on the northern side, just centered around Fragment. And we see that hot drop there at Climatizer. I don't know if that's going to be enough to sway teams off of their pick to drop. Probably not. But I'm actually going to look at Countdown and see if we get another early fight there. The armor is guaranteed. We saw an early fight there in game number 1. So it might be a place to keep an eye on as we head into this next match.
I'll be honest, this is probably going to be one of the littest drops just because, like, the way that the circle is going, heading towards Fragment West and East. I don't know why, but whenever I go there, it's always a fight. There's always a gunfight, Fragment East and West, especially when you're trying to drop there for POI. It's just an absolute nightmare. Look where Passion's dropping. That's actually one of the hottest spots I was talking about. You know what I'm talking about.
Building. The streamer building, right? Passion's got the streamer building. And
yes.
Honestly, some people call it streamer building. I call it insta-death building because if I even look at that building, I tell you what, Captain, I will be instantly just deleted from the whole game. But Passion looks like setting up a little bit of a base, going to be able to pick it clean of all of that loot.
Oh yeah, it's like, you know, Mufasa telling Simba, "What's that dark place over there?" "Oh, that's Fragment West. We don't go there."
That's it. That's it. So even if, you know, Uncle Scar comes and tries to sway you, you stay to what Mufasa tells you, and you stay away from that elephant graveyard known as Streamer Building.
Well, let's see who is going to be able to come out on top here in game number 2. Already, we're seeing some action for the guard, and what a shot from Keon, being able to crack one shield early. Maybe not enough to get the knock, but enough to scare them off of their POI.
Yeah, not really a conventional location on the map, I think, for an early drop. You know, it's right on the outskirts, kind of between Survey Camp and Skyhook here in this train tunnel. So getting a little bit of early damage, you know, scared them away for now. But now both teams know that they're in close proximity. And if they get greedy for that KP, we might see a re-engagement.
Well, you know, I'll be honest, I'm greedy. I want to see the early KP. I want to see the trades. I want all of the smoke. And let's see if NRG will be able to give us that, as they are already on the move. And already off the rip, 2 level 2s and a level 3 shield, my word.
I wonder
and right now,
if it's, I wonder if it's credit to the Loba here, right? We haven't seen many Lobas in play, but now Guild on the Loba definitely can help with those armor pickups. But, and, you know, getting some quick loot early in the game, Loba's your girl.
Oh, absolutely. Not only that, but I think Loba is insanely clutch in the post game too. A lot in the late game, because when you're stuck in those circle situations and, you know, the death boxes are mounting and, you know, you need to get your batteries, your cells, your heals, and your shields, having Loba there in the late game goes absolutely clutch. Just constantly being able to reload on shields, constantly being able to regen your health. It definitely goes a long way, and I'm surprised we don't see more of Loba. Speaking of, I'm surprised we don't have more support characters in general in Apex. So take a note, Respawn. We need more support.
I love the support characters right now. NRG, they have that Loba at the ready. They have the Watson and Valkyrie as well, and they seem like they have found their targets, closing in on the hunt. But can they chase this team down quickly enough and not have to lose that position? In fact, here comes some incoming fire from that side of West Fragment, or Fragment West on the northern side there, and now they have to worry about finding a little bit of cover.
I think watching Sweet run around with the Valkyrie heirloom is the most threatening thing that I have seen all series long so far.
Yeah, you see that Valkyrie heirloom and you just start shaking your boots. Like, I don't know if I want to go up against that. And here's another Valkyrie heirloom on the side of Sentinels. It looks like Crust has it at the ready. Sentinels, we had talked about winning that 1v3. Senox actually clutched it up for them to secure that 10th position qualifiers in order to be here. Now, game number 1 maybe wasn't their match, but can they bring back that level of clutch factor in this match?
Now, you see, I was actually prepping for this because we talked about how Sinox was able to get a 1v3 on Monday, and that's what got the Sentinels qualified.
Yeah.
I did my homework, and I prepped, because right before this match, I myself played a game and got 1v3'd, and it was fantastic.
Wait, you did the 1v3 or it happened to you?
No, I got 1v3'd.
Was it Senox, though? Because then I understand.
No, it wasn't.
Looks like Complexity here have one down. A player is cracked, but here comes the flank play. It's going to be enough to clean up Sentinels. So unfortunately, this game 2 is not for the Sentinels. Complexity now with the banner in hand, going to try to get a respawn. It looks like they have a few options here actually for semi-safe respawn locations.
Oh yeah, they got a couple of options. One of them, of course, is to GTFO. You do not want to stick around
Yes.
for the third party. We've seen it all game long there in game number 1. Trying to avoid it here in game number 2. NRG once again taking to the train car in order to get those heals and shields back up and ready to get into the fight here. And it looks as though they might be in the middle of a pinch. This is going to be difficult for NRG.
Well, they tried to hold on to that train car in the end of game number 1. Ended up costing them the win, although, hey, credit them for the second place finish and the massive KP that they were able to accumulate. They have a good position, I feel like, here. Locked down the scopes, ready to go. And now look at, there's a quick crack coming through. They know they have purple and blue shields up against at least one player who's sitting in the whites.
And not to mention the accuracy with the flatline. My goodness, Guild is just a baddie with the flatty. You have got to watch out. And then I couldn't help but notice that they were holding on to an alternator. So if they try and push that, it's going to be an absolute nightmare for that team as we make our way back over to ESA. who find themselves once again over towards the bridge, and this just seems to be their POI.
You talk about lasering with the flatline. What's your rhyme for the wingman? Because those 2 shots back to back, making it look so easy to just deal out a quick 90 damage. And now continuing, there's a headshot coming through, follow up with a body shot. This team is in trouble as ESA closes in. HEC is getting eliminated. They're gonna have to sit and wait for game 3.
Now, you see, I don't have a rhyme for the wingman, but I do like to say that you have to get the dingsman with the wingman. Because when you headshot, it goes ding.
Dingsman. Gotta get the dingsman with the wingsman.
And there's your daily dose of cringe.
I love it. I love it. I'm sorry. Another fight happening now on the outsides of Train Yard, and it looks like G2, a team that we've also talked about after dominating in Tuesday's qualifiers. They have the low ground position, but we do have a horizon lift, and just on cue, Chaotic, thank you, uses that lift, steals back high ground, lasering across, and now dropping down. Doesn't worry about not having shields. If you can catch the other team off guard, that's all the advantage you need. And it looks like they're continuing to hit those shots. Bodies being dropped. G2 have all but won out this fight.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say the way that they're moving and the way that they're playing, it didn't even look like they were going into this like, okay, let's go fight. And they're like, no, we're gonna go eliminate these people real quick. Hang on, you know, hold my drink for a second. We're about to go get a 3-piece, and now you can see it looks as though Chaotic may be able to get the finish, and there you have it, Furia getting eliminated so early.
Yeah, G2 was looking at Furia like they were already death boxes, right? Like there was no holding back. There was only the W key on that takedown. And a team like Furia to come out with that level of just aggression and confidence and be able to win, I think that says a lot to this lineup.
Oh, absolutely, and I love where this circle is going because Epicenter, it's not like my POI that I dropped to, but I just love it. Yeah, I love Epicenter. It's so much fun fighting there, and now we're seeing that the final rings are shaping up to head in that direction. Meanwhile, we're going to make our way back over to Complexity, who find themselves having a little fun of their own. As you can see, Nick Merckx and company are making their way in, and now we're going to see a little bit of a danger here as that second ring only a minute away from closing, and a lot of teams still playing on the outskirts.
So many teams on the outskirts. We have that Valkyrie ult in hand. It's going to be a quick rotation. Valkyrie being almost a must-have on these squads for this very reason. You can get out of dodge quick, or you can relocate if you want to find a new place to call home. And so right now we do see the squad getting a quick rotation. They're going to have a little bit of cover here and a little bit of time before they have to continue that trek, but wasting no time, lasering with the scout rifle. Look at Vayne, barely like 5 HP in a dream, relying on teammates to provide some cover, to provide some buffer as those scout rifle shots rain down.
I'm not gonna lie, those scout rifle shots were absolutely nutty, but now we're making our way back to C9, holding themselves indoors yet again, and look at the Watson fences completely destroyed now, and C9 are looking like they could be in a little bit of a dangerous spot here.
Yeah, looking to see if they can get fully shielded up, and those Watson fences will buy them a little bit of time, but I'm not sure if it's going to be enough for them to be able to re-engage. They're kind of playing patient right now, which I can respect, because I am just, you know, I'm all nerves at this point, but they seem like they're just catching their breath, reevaluating, healing all the way back up before re-engaging. But one person not going to have that luxury is Cody as the last player on ESA. Both teammates eliminated. Does he risk going for those tags? It might be better to, as you said before, just get out of dodge.
I think they should go and get the banners because me personally, and again, I'm biased, but I say you never leave the homies hanging. You gotta go get the tags. Make sure you can try and bring them back. You gotta at least try, but no, Cody said, nah, it's time to GTFO.
Cody said not today, and he's gonna get on the run. Maybe could come back. Was Cody playing as a crypto and I just missed it? Because then you have the option to pick up tags in a little bit of a safer way on that one. So we'll see how that plays out. G2, after that nice win we saw on Furia, now looking very strong both in equipment and in the purple shields, getting ready for this mid game, and again not slowing down. They're full sending onto another team. No health for Chaotic. Doesn't need it. There goes DZ.
Yeah, and you see the thing about Horizon. Horizon is a character that I love to hate. if that makes sense. Because look how that just went down. Like they threw down the util, they elevated themselves, instantly giving them the high ground in which they were on the receiving end only seconds prior, and then literally just being able to take a 1v2 to get the elimination on DZ. So again, that chaotic is just nuts. That is pretty much what it all boils down to.
That was a beautiful Horizon play. We've seen it on back-to-back attacks, and I love it. You might love to hate it. I just straight up love it. Energy now in some trouble, and there's the caustic gas being as toxic as that legend is. It's going to be enough as they get the knocks and now rotate around to clean up those kills. A quick armor swap is going to put them in a much safer place, and unfortunately now NRG is getting eliminated.
And you know, speaking of caustic, I wanted to share that I actually recently won a bet because last year I bought the Santa caustic skin.
Oh yes.
And I told everyone I'm gonna keep the skin on all year long until we make it back around for Christmas. And guess what? Here we are.
Well, here we go. Now's your chance to rock the caustic, and you can be toxic, and I can be Horizon, and we'll both, you know, love to hate the other person. But can I hate Santa, or am I going to lose out on Christmas presents?
I don't know. I mean, only one way to find out. You can go ahead and try. But speaking of, MPS now going to try and hold on here as their backs are literally up against the ring there. But at the same time, they're in one of the final rings already, so they're off to a good standing. And now Optic trying to get themselves back on the board here, and out goes the caustic ult, and that is going to deal a massive amount of damage. This team is literally trapping themselves inside of this building at the moment. Optic Gaming being able to get one knock and eliminate FaZe.
Oh, FaZe taken down. The team I said, hey, watch out for them after winning, coming out with the most points. Number 2 is not their play. That caustic ult perfectly plays through the most popular window on the map, I have to say. But again, not much time to regroup. Here comes CLG with a Mad Maggie leading the charge.
And this is actually interesting because I actually like Mad Maggie because all these defense characters that you see, the Jibby, you know, the Newcastle, even the Watson, you throw out that util and it makes short work of all of those defenses. So whenever you see a Mad Maggie, you know you're in danger.
Yeah, that Mad Maggie will get right up in your face in no time, and then also can laser through the cover. And right now with CLG, oh no, they're hanging on by the skin of their teeth. Last player alive is Dimmy. He does enough to, I think they got the KP there before the third party, the full force LG comes through, cleans up the scraps.
Oh yeah, and to the victor go the spoils. Now Luminosity is going to pick these death boxes clean, as the next ring will be moving in now. Round 3 closing as we get ready to head into round 4. And once again, here we are over towards Epicenter, and TSM already finding themselves in the danger as one player does get knocked. And now G2 looking to get a read here off at a cheeky spot. Look at this location for Design to lay down the damage getting the dings man with the wingman.
Oh man, those are some very satisfying dings, man, with that wingman, I have to say. But like, just the amount of damage in about a 3-second time span, absolutely absurd. And now we have G2. We saw them take down Furia, and now they're gonna add to that kill count. TSM G2, they might be the team to take down those Titans.
They very well could be. I mean, they're off to a fantastic start here in game number 2. And now as we get ready to head into the late game, we can see if they're going to be able to hold on to that momentum. They do have great positioning on the outside here, but it's going to be the challenge of working from the outside in. As you can see, a lot of teams already looking to get shelter and try and find themselves a good position as we get ready to get down into round number 5. Only 50 more seconds until round 4 begins to close.
The charge rifle in the hands of Vayne on the Seer right here. At least paired it with a Volt, so I can be a fan of that. But I'm more a fan of, here, what did you call this? The Dirty 30? The 30-30 right there? You pair a 30-30 and a charge rifle, and the long-range capabilities here on the team is something to be admired. Even trying to be a nuisance to teams as they come off of the balloon, flying through the sky, not giving them any peace.
And now you can see it looks as though that Dirty 30 is going to come out. And look at that. Look at all the gold attachments on that thing. Oh, my. That looks oh so dangerous. I would be nervous if I was the guard trying to push against that.
Oh, you know who would be nervous? I'd be nervous. Look at Nick Merckx and Jen at the bottom of your screen. That's Team Tripods, and that's a team that should be nervous. They can hear all of this fighting above them, and they're just crouching, hoping and praying that nobody sniffs them out.
Yeah, and I don't know if you saw on the outside there, but there was a team that actually got 2 revives off the respawn beacon. So that is going to be interesting as they try and look to
Cody?
make their way in. And wait, hang on a second. I didn't get a good look. It could have been. But right now,
Okay.
G2 still trying to hold on here as they are literally getting util dumped.
They have great KP right now, but they want to break into that top 10 for some better placement points. But Chaotic, that aggressive horizon has paid off. But right now, being the first one down is going to leave G2 a little bit weakened, crippled even, with 1 player down. And they have to give up on that revive as they are getting pushed aggressively, wasting no time, going back, grabbing the tag. So down but not out for G2 as SO is also eliminated.
Oh, and this is, again, we're looking at the util dump right now onto G2, and it's just, it feels bad, but you're right. That is Cody down there. Look at that. Is that...
Let's go.
Hold on. Is Cody going to be the unofficial rat here in Game 2? Is that what we're seeing?
I mean, we were talking about risking it to go back for the tags when he was the last one standing on the squad. And then I think Cody might be actually rocking the crypto, so potentially using the drone to pick up tags and get to safety. But wow, you love to see in the end of the day it paying off with that double reboot coming in.
And you know what's even crazy to me is that we're heading into round 5, nearly gone, by the way, less than a minute until round 5 begins to close, and there's still 10 squads, 26 players standing here as that ring begins to get smaller and smaller. And now, there you have it, the ult goes out and the utils go in.
All the utility being rained down. There's not a patch of ground that is safe, but they're still gonna try. And we're talking about cryptos being annoying. Here comes the drone, the EMP burst, trying to stop them from healing, but Team Liquid is not giving up. They're getting 1 revive. They're going for the second. All 3 players are weak.
All right, well, let's get ready to take a listen in on what these players are saying and hear how the comms are going for these squads.
We gotta go.
Yep. We can just slide forward to the north side, right?
Their
Why
roof
are
is
you-
just getting everything for free, I'm pretty
Okay.
sure.
Can
Can
we
we just, like, slide here?
Yeah,
We
yeah.
have
Slide,
to.
slide and scout. Slide,
Slide,
and scout.
slide alt. Oh.
We can slide for right here on this wall on my right side. Ready?
Okay, yep.
I'm shooting right. I'm shooting right. Bro.
Bro.
Holy fuck, man.
What
Oh.
the fuck?
I think we needed to go like full left.
Yeah,
like low,
yeah,
ultimate low
yeah.
ground.
No, you're right.
There's a team
Oh.
there. I'm looking at it.
Well,
listening in on the team, all you could hear was instant regret, wishing that they had rotated differently, and unfortunately, the outcome was all 3 players going down. Now, I don't take blame for that. That's not the caster's curse. That's the listen-in curse.
oh yeah, that's exactly what that was. And you know it was over when you heard the first bro. Like, that was it. It was over. As soon as the first bro came out, you knew it was just bad news Berensteins. And now you can see not only that, but I'm wondering who brought Fuse to the party.
Oh, Fusion, you're right. We've been seeing the results of those knuckle clusters being annoying, but now on board with the tripods, Nick Merckx is trying to stay alive as the last remaining player, but he's gonna get focus fired. That ratting out at the bottom of the platform turns out maybe it bought them a few placement points, but in the end, they are sniffed out and they are taken down.
Hey, at least you're going down with a couple. You know, the placement points, you're getting a few. It was not a bad finish at all. You know, that's about as nearly as much as you can ask from, you know, the last remaining survivor. But now, next on the chopping block, Cloud9 will be eliminated at the hands of BRD.
BR demons are playing like demons in this game. They are popping off and they have this beautiful little wall of protection right now, quite literally a wall. And meanwhile, all of the other teams, including the guard, seeing them back in the play. The guard might have the premier position. They have the building on lockdown after coming back and clutching up in game number 1. Could they do it in back-to-back games?
I mean, they could, but I'll be honest, this is looking a little sus. Being this close to the edge of the ring here, and that's going to close in 1:35. So you got to keep in mind, they are going to be forced out of this defense, and once they are, how much longer are they going to be able to hold on? But like you said, they managed to do it in game 1. They were able to rotate out and in, literally doing a bait and switch. So let's see if they still have what it takes to do it again.
Well, they surprised us once. We talked about in the pregame wanting to see those teams that catch us off guard, and I think the guard caught us off guard in game number 1, kind of living up to their name in a little bit of a roundabout way. But just below them, just one floor down, is Team MPS trying to heal. This storm is about to be a problem. I'm not sure about the heat shield situation. They're desperately working to get these med kits off before they will be forced to rotate out of safety.
Now, you see, Captain might be Captain, but I think the heat shields are G8. I don't think we're going to see any heat shields. But regardless, yeah, MPS now trying to survive here as the ring slowly encroaches, and it's like watching their doom slowly close in on them as finally they're forced out, and now they're out in the open.
Well, here's the guard. They did have that high ground position, but now no cover to speak of, and they're throwing the ordnance down, getting some cracks with it. That Watson ult was placed just in the nick of time to cancel out the incoming ordnance. One player goes down. Rambo is on the ground. Keon now is very weak, both in health and shields, and now the Newcastle ult claiming a spot in this final circle. There's bodies left and right. We're still looking at 4 squads.
That was absolutely litty. That Newcastle ult forcing all those players out into the ring, and now only 2 squads remain, and finally it will be ended by Complexity.
Complexity coming out, taking game number 2, and they just owned that final circle, waited their time until everyone was forced out into the open, dropped the Newcastle ult, and it's enough for them to be crowned victors of game number 2. We saw a few familiar names in the feed, including the guard, winners of game number 1, coming out, I believe it was in 4th place there, but also a nice new game number 2 win.
Yeah, and speaking of, I gotta mention Chaotic just one more again. We saw them in the replay now twice because they had 2 back-to-back highlight-worthy plays. Being an absolute nuisance to so many teams, they might not have finished greatly, but they did get a good bit of KP, and they got themselves on the highlight reel. And now for the 3rd time in the replays, we got to see G2.
Yeah, G2 definitely making a name for themselves, just dealing out damage and being an overall nuisance on the field. Didn't come out, you know, with that top 1, 2, 3 position, but we know that they'll be on the scoreboard based off of kills alone.
Yeah, and this was it. This is where it all went sideways. This Newcastle ult forcing so many players out into the danger, into the damage, and that Horizon util pushing everyone up into the sky until finally there was only one left standing, and it was Complexity.
Love to see Complexity. I feel like that Newcastle ult was the play of the game. Gave them that position in a seemingly an invisible circle and allowed them just a second of cover, enough to rain down some fire and to clutch it up for a Complexity win in game number 2.
Well, now let's get ready to see what the damage truly was. I'm interested to see how that scoreboard ended up looking after game number 2 to see who was able to make the most of it. I mean, Complexity definitely should be able to find themselves on the top spot because we know they managed to get a decent amount of KP, and of course with the 1st place finish giving them their guaranteed 12 placement points. Is now we get a chance to look at it here, and it will be 22. And look at the guard. Keep in mind the guard was able to get 24 points there in game number 1. Now being able to amass that with another 13, that consistency coming from the guard is going to take them a long way. But here in game number 2, it was all about Complexity.
Oh, so interesting to see teams like NRG and TSM on the right side of the scoreboard after being in 2nd and 3rd place from game number 1. The guard literally beat the team to break top 3 in back-to-back games. We also saw teams like the BR Demons coming out, a team we hadn't seen much in game number 1, but they certainly made a name for themselves here in the 2nd match.
And you see, now what's throwing me through a loop, like to the point where my hair is literally falling out, is that FaZe and NRG are on the latter half of the leaderboard right now. We're talking 15th and 17th place. That I did not expect by any means. And it's far from over. You know, we're only 2 games down. We still got 4 to go. But let's just say I was expecting a little bit different from those 2 teams.
Yeah, definitely some surprises on both sides of that scoreboard, but it's still early. We will be heading into game number 3 back on World's Edge before swapping over to Storm Point. We're going to cut to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have the overall leaderboard and then diving right into game number 3. Well, here's the guard. They did have that high ground position, but now no cover to speak of, and they're throwing the ordnance down, getting some cracks with it. That Watson ult was placed just in the nick of time to cancel out the incoming ordnance. One player goes down. Rambo is on the ground. Keon now is very weak, both in health and shields, and now the Newcastle ult claiming a spot in this final circle. There's bodies left and right. We're still looking at 4 squads.
That was absolutely litty. That Newcastle ult forcing all those players out into the ring, and now only 2 squads remain, and finally it will be ended by Complexity.
Sentinels is third party in the whole thing. Just took wait.
Sentinels, you weren't invited to this party. What are you doing? There's no shot. They
Just
could
way
be
too long.
both teams. Don't qualify with Sentinels showing up here.
Yeah, I mean, there were no openings.
No.
There were no openings, so neither team could really push without being suicidal. Sentinel's gonna come in and potentially clean up both teams.
Looking to connect one of these scout hipfire shots, and 100 Thieves eliminated. 100 Thieves are indeed out.
The zone, I didn't see where the zone's pulling. Is it
The zone is pulling a little bit further. Oh, they are actually going to fight Sentinels versus Dark Zero here.
And Bangalore smokes are in. Sentinels with the Seer and the Digi Threat gonna put some nice damage in from Synox. Jin Burton is killed Crust in the kill feed. So it's a 2v3 at the moment. I think Sentinels 2, Dark Zero 3.
I mean, not if Synox has anything to say about it. Synox is doing some crazy damage here with the read. Look at these shots. Tech very low. Synox doing the damn thing right here.
Let's go.
Oh my goodness. Synox just popped off right there.
That's a clip.
Hey everybody, welcome back. We're going to keep the action rolling here tonight for the Oversight X Hyperlux Apex Legends series. Now this is split number 2, week number 2, and teams are looking for that chunk of the $5,000 that's on the line here for tonight, but also overall points to qualify for the finals in mid-January, where $20,000 will be up for grabs. Here's our leaderboard from the first 2 matches. Soka, for you, what's the big standout from this leaderboard?
The guard. I think it's fair to say the #1 team is probably going to be the thing that stands out to me, just because we were talking about a lot of these big name teams, you know, like Furia and FaZe Clan, currently in 13th and 15th place, not even on the top 10 side of the leaderboard, but also Complexity. We did get a chance to talk about them a little bit, and they are having themselves a great day as well, as they find themselves in that #2 spot, and then the #3 spot, NRG, who haven't found themselves in like a big highlight reel moment, but they are playing very consistent, and that has bode well for their overall success so far.
Now, the one highlight that we saw NRG in was unfortunately the highlight for the guard, taking them down to win game 1. So the wrong side of that highlight reel, but still solid placement from game number 1, as well as a lot of kills, is keeping them at the tight of that Lord. Another team to note is G2. We talked about them a lot last match. They did come out with 6 KP, and that has them on the left side of the overall leaderboard, but we still have the majority of games left to play. And one thing I want you to pick this right here, Cap. Are you ready for this?
Why you got to put me on the spot? Yeah,
I'm putting you on the spot. You
Go
better
ahead.
be ready.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
does the guard make it to top 3 for all 3 matches on World's Edge?
Oh, honestly, I want to say yes, just because just because the way that they've been playing, they managed to do it twice in a row. I don't see why they can't do it a third. Let me put it to you this way: they're either going to get into the top 3 again, or they're going to go out insanely early. They're going to be one of the first ones out. If not, if they manage to survive, let's say the first 3 rounds, they're going to go the full distance.
All right, well, we'll see if that prediction comes true. Will they be top 3? Will they be taken out early? Or are they going to be one of those middle teams that we so often see? And here's their drop. They're opposite corner of where the circle is going to take them. So they don't have much time to loot. But luckily for them, dropping on a purple shield is going to put that Watson Keon into a good starting position. In fact, double purple shields. What is this RNG? Give me some of that.
I was about to make the same thing. How come whenever I drop and land on stuff, it's just like all like maybe like 15 white shields all
Yeah.
back to back, and then you'll get a P2020, and then you'll
Yeah,
get
and like 3 laser sights maybe.
yeah. How where is this purple shield drop at? Like where do I have to go to get these like 2 and 3 purple shields literally right next to each other in the supply bin? Oh, I need some of that in my life. I really do.
Well, mark it down. The dome is apparently the place to be, but just north of them at Lava City is Team Optic. All of these teams on the opposite corner of where Circle is going to close onto Skyhook and Countdown. Countdown has already been a spicy drop. You add the Circle on top of it, I'm expecting to see a lot of battles going down at Countdown and the southern edge of Skyhook.
Yeah, and we've already talked about this cluster, this nightmare here. Right outside of Countdown 2, by the way. So this is where you see a lot of the rotations coming in, and also where you see a lot of eliminations going down. Not necessarily being held up, but in transition. You can already see his Watson getting dealt a lot of damage as they try to make their way from Countdown over to these fragments. And now we could see our first exchange and possibly even our first squad wipe of Game 3.
Oh, look at the wingman shots being delivered. Nick Marks is going down as Furia lasering with the wingman. Now taking a quick second to shield back up, but they're not going to rest. I see Furia is going to full send on this fight. As soon as you give him an inch, they're going to take a mile and hopefully a squad wipe on top of it. His Watson, however, has to double back and re-shield.
Yeah, Watson is in fact that guy, by the way. Watson got the dog in him. I don't know what else to tell you. They're gonna go and they're gonna try and take this fight, and so far, not so bad, to say the least. You know, they're able to get a couple of shield cracks, and they're managing to really hold their own. But meanwhile, we're gonna take a look over at Furia, who are working from the outside in, and like you said, once again, trying to get the Dings man with the wingman, as now we're going back inside. And you can see Pandas is the last one standing for Furia, looking to get the crack on the shield and barely holding on.
Oh, what a great juxtaposition there. Panda was the one with those opening shots with the wingman on that replay, and now seeing him as last alive for Furia. He's taken down. Even though they had so much early round damage, they weren't able to clean up the rest of that fight in time. The third party is going to come over, and now it's Sentinels closing in.
Yep, that it is, and Sentinels once again are one of those teams that haven't found themselves up in the top spots of the leaderboard, but a lot can change in the remaining matches that we have left, as now you can see Tripod does get eliminated into the kill feed as well, and Sentinels off to a great start here in Game 3.
Well, they are getting some nice KP, and again, Circle is going to be going to Skyhook, so no reason to rotate. However, they got some unfriendly neighbors. Complexity, the winners of game number 2, are moving in right alongside them, and I don't think they're going to be delivering them cookies. They might be delivering them some ordnance instead.
Yeah, very well could be, and who doesn't like a good old-fashioned util dump for Christmas? If you've been especially good this year, you know, they might make it quick, and you know, you could be eliminated a lot faster. But regardless, it's going to be C9 now, who we have got to see a little bit of. We have found them in the highlight reels every now and again, but still not making big waves over there on the scoreboard. Maybe this could be the game where they turn it around. Meanwhile, CLG is turning around and going right down on the ground as they will be eliminated.
Both teams eliminated. Both FaZe and CLG are taken out. We knew that Countdown was going to be spicy, but those two teams deleted in the blink of an eye, and NRG coming out of it nearly unscathed and ready to take advantage of all the loot in the world.
And you see, this is why I said Countdown is my favorite POI. And you might have misinterpreted. It's not my favorite POI for me. It's my favorite POI to watch other people get murked. That's why. Yeah, no, this isn't the place for me, but it's definitely the most entertaining.
It scares me. I'm going to be honest. I'd much rather land Skyhook and have a little bit of room, a little bit of elbow room to work with. Countdown seems like it's full send all the time. And just outside here of Countdown, it is Dark Zero. Now, this team from Australia moved to the U.S. so that they can come here and compete in this North American tournament series. So we'd love to see that all paying off for this team if they can get their sights set. Now, there's the scout rifle beaming with those shots, a quick 150 damage, and they're just looking for an opportunity to, upgrade your armor with some damage or at least weaken the other team of their health supplies.
And this is why Watson is such a viable defensive character. Not only do you have the Watson fences, but it's just that ultimate. That ultimate goes so clutch. It really does. It acts as a trophy system, negating a lot of the throwables in the util, which we have seen. If we have seen anything tonight, it's that how viable util dumps actually are and how many eliminations you get from them. But with that Watson ult, you're protected from it. Also, with the shield regen, just so clutch. And that's why we're constantly seeing Watson time and time again in a lot of these compositions.
Well, NRG seemed to be getting a little bit comfy in that room on the outside of Countdown where we saw all of the death boxes stockpiled there. So they had their own little armory, if you will, being built up. And we're looking at the circle. Here's the rotation from Optic on the eastern side, G2 to the south. But as well, they have a team even further south. It's LG that could be running into G2 on that southernmost side.
And, I'm here for it. I'm waiting. But also, look at Optic. They're making their way in from the southeast. And it looks as though they're going to try and go the long way round. They're going to... I don't know. They could go for that deep...
north.
Yeah, that deep flank by Skyhook. If they're able to sweep that, they can literally get a huge flank on at least 2, maybe even 3 teams at the same time.
I mean, they definitely have the time to make that rotation, but I think that the worry is you don't know if there's any teams in Skyhook that are locking down the buildings to gatekeep that very bottlenecked passageway. Right now, they would have opportunity to rotate, but again, information is power, and they have to kind of take their best guess at where teams are posted up. Now, one hint, though, for that information is going to be the gunfire, giving them clues and context at where the fights are going down.
Yeah, we just saw, Klain from ESA get a huge clue where their opponents are because they just got lasered in the face. And that, if that's not an indicator of where a player is, I don't know what is. And regardless,
it's a bat signal at that point,
Exactly. Not only that, but I got to draw attention to season's composition there. The legend selection they're going with. They went with a Valkyrie, okay, understandable, and then they brought the Mad Maggie and the Crypto to the mix. That is probably the most, and this is the best way I could put it, but that was probably the most unorthodox selection I think I have seen so far today.
Yeah, and we'll see if it pays off. We've seen some Mad Maggie plays in the game number 1 that were pretty effective, but here comes the fight. This might be the party house for game number 3, because now we see that the Guard are getting into action here. They survived the very early game, but they cannot survive the mid game. They're taken out, and Sentinels right behind them.
Hey, here we go. This is one of the underdog stories. We're talking about HEC, formerly known as Atlanta Premier, getting in on the mix and getting some juicy eliminations. The only thing worse than getting gunned down is getting gunned down and then getting kicked in the face in the process. I know y'all saw that. I was not the only one who noticed a boot to the grill of that team, and that just makes it just a little bit extra.
That's literally adding insult to injury at that point with the boot to the face. I mean, that feels like a personal attack. Now we see TL, they do have that gold knockdown, so the player's going to be coming back at past half health, which is a huge advantage for them to get that Horizon back in the action. Trying to clean up a kill, and here's the fuse you were asking about from last game. Right here on Thog, he does use that knuckle cluster to try to gatekeep the edge of the storm.
Yeah, and that was, remember, that's Team Liquid that we actually got to have that listen in there in game number 2, and we got to hear a little bit of their comms, so hopefully they're not hearing any bros going into game number 3, because we know it's just bad news Berensteins after that. So, as you can see, G2 now making their way in onto Team Liquid, and we should be seeing some crossfire here shortly. Meanwhile, look at this, a very generous teammate, sharing the sugar, making sure everybody gets a shield battery. That's what you like to see.
Yeah, you know, maybe that's what they took away from the last match when we were on the board with their comms. You did hear that bro and a little bit of a defeated, you know, audio there, which understandably so. They were talking about we should have rotated this way. This was the wrong call. But now they're looking very unified, sharing the wealth with one another. And they got some nice high ground position here on the outside of Trials.
And now they're making their way in here. C9, again, a pretty consistent team, to say the least. We haven't seen any real big top-notch plays, except for there in game number 2. They did get one, but they are very consistent. They do find themselves constantly in the conversation. We just haven't seen a real big breakout from them on the leaderboard just yet, but there's still plenty of games left to go and plenty of time left here in game number 3. I'm having expectations for them to have one of those big breakout games.
I'd love to see them come through on that prediction for you at Soka, but I tell you one thing that's going to be difficult for every team on this map. If you're looking at this circle, it is half mountain range and just maybe 4 or 5 buildings at the southernmost point of Skyhook are going to be the sought after position. Now, I know the real estate market is crazy in the real world. Imagine those Skyhook estates there and the price climb on those buildings.
You know what? I'm not gonna touch that one with a 30-foot pole. We're just gonna gloss over that and get back to NRG because, like you said, real estate definitely gonna be an issue here for a lot of these teams trying to make their way in. And then, not to mention, look at the choke point there to the southeast. That's where we last saw Luminosity Gaming, and I don't think they're gonna want to try and risk it for that biscuit. They're gonna have to try and maybe go the long way round.
Well, C9 has no choice but to take this fight. Players have shields being taken down, but there's that crypto EMP, and you see the ticks of damage as well from the thermites. So both teams very weak in this fight, but you always have to worry not just about the team in front of you, but the potential for a third party.
Oh yeah, there ain't no party like an Apex third party, as you can see now. Rocker trying to get a knock with the wingman, but isn't able to solidify. And now you can see Fancy Sun being absolutely bombarded by Bullet Barrage, and now Zach Mazer having to go back behind the desk and seek cover themselves, as it looks as though that dreaded third party may be on its way in.
I mean, they are rocking that desk like the best receptionists in the world, but the CEOs are upstairs, and they're going to have to deal with them one way or the other. Here comes C9. They healed up, and now here's those kicks to the face. Not stopping, but it's not going to be enough. The Seer does get taken down. One player left. It's Rocker as last alive, but there's the third party. ESA are 3 strong, and C9 are in trouble, trapped back here behind the filing cabinets, and they're going to be eliminated.
Look at the pile of death boxes here. That's just beautiful artwork. It's like a pyramid. And now, once again, to the victor go the spoils. They're going to get a whole lot here. Look at this. That is just, you just love to see a good plan come together. You really do.
Quite the stockpile of loot. And I said filing cabinets. I don't know what that actually was. What was it? Gardening supplies? I don't know. I liked the idea of it being a, you know, a more like business style building with filing cabinets, but whatever. Planters are going on back there, you know, that's okay. They're gonna get the batteries, they're gonna get the ammo, they're gonna get everything they want from that fight.
And speaking of getting what you want, are we back on Countdown? Because that's what I want. As you can see, that ring is making its way in, but still a lot can happen here on Countdown. At least 2 squads there playing the waiting game. And of course, here we are continuing that game more towards Skyhook now. And the more that I'm looking at Luminosity, they are definitely not going to run for the choke point. They're going to be taking the long way round, and there in waiting are 2 different squads.
I see TSM on the other side, but one team kind of being pinched in the middle down. Position for them. Optic, this was the team rotating from the southeastern side. Now they're pretty much the most northwestern. They've completely just trailblazed across the map, but they're in a world of pain right now. The Caustic last alive, using that ultimate to hopefully provide some kind of a stall, but it's not enough. Caught out in the open with a Caustic is not where you want to be. Optic are taken down.
Yeah, and that's the thing about the Jibby Dome is that it's great defense, but at the same time, you're pretty much telling everybody to aim here. And unfortunately, that's what happened for Optic Gaming, but now we make our way back over to Luminosity, who are looking to lay down the util as the Arc Stars go out, and TSM are trying to hold on to their position as now they're going to make the push. Laying down the damage is Verholst being able to crack at least one shield. Meanwhile, Imperial Hal trying to solidify the elimination. And once again, we are at a standstill.
Are playing this so smart. They're getting some early damage, but even though they have the advantage, they recognize that this is a 3-team fight and they don't want to overextend out of position. They have the best circle position of the 3 teams that are engaged here, and just like that, Team SO is eliminating, leaving just the 2 left alive. We're gonna go to a quick listen in with TSM as this action unfolds.
I thought you guys were walking in.
They blocked us, you idiot!
I don't know that.
I'm popping up, I'm popping a bat.
I'm going to the other door.
And I have a knockdown. Oh. They have an armor swap.
I'm weak.
I cracked 2, I cracked 2!
Nice.
Both Anthony both.
Nice.
Nice.
Come on, come on, come on.
Great job.
Someone landed west, someone landed west.
Yeah.
Yeah, just get an armor swap and shit.
Oh man, Hal finishes off the rest of that fight as the last one standing for TSM, set up by the players, but they hear that a team is landing to their west. They know they don't have much time, and they're sitting as a team of 2 right now. Here comes the fire from that scout rifle. There's no rest for them, and they have circle to worry about.
Yeah, and I gotta tell you, that was probably, I think, going to be the best comms that we hear all night. I love that so much. Rez, you're blocking, you idiot! Oh. Could not get. Oh, I just vibe. I vibe with those comms so much. It's like I'm there. It's like I'm playing myself.
So is this what I would be in for if we teamed up? Yeah, they're blocking, you idiot, and they'll be just like, you know, I just gotta accept it, and in the end, you clutch up anyways.
Yeah, well now let's see if Team Liquid can clutch up, as now they're making their way in on towards TSM. Going towards the outside, is able to get a couple of shoulder picks there for reverse psychology, as they're looking to try and get in now. And we already know TSM has got this building on lockdown as the ult goes out, but TSM not going to be going in, as now Thog trying to deal that damage and already able to get at least one shield crack. This does not look good for TSM.
What a great play there from Thog. He gets 1 knock, and now the second one. Last player is up, and they're closing in on this poor, helpless Horizon. TSM, off of the back of that clutch victory, are taken down, but not much time here for TL to loot. They need to get what they need, and they need to get out of Dodge, because they need to rotate around this mountain on the western side to get back into safety at Skyhook.
Now, I wish I could have heard what those comms were. Oh yeah, that would have been a good one. But now we're going to make our way over to Esports Academy. ESA is now, they are going to be trying to hold the high ground there on the second floor. Meanwhile, take a look at this. We're back over to Dark Zero. As you can see, they are holding up pretty nicely. They all got level 3 shields. The Watson fences are out. They're going to have to get them out the way, of course. And now they have a little bit more room to operate, as they're going to have to peek out and try to avoid the danger.
Yes, some Watson fences are good when they're yours, but the other teams are annoying, right? So shoot those out, replace them with your own, and here comes Dark Zero. What a laser coming out from the car. Great plays. And now here comes Team Liquid into the fight. We see the kill leader here on board with Thog, but they are in trouble. Dark Zero went out a fight on complexity, but they are only at 2 up, and that Seer is in a world of pain trying to pop a med kit.
Oh, absolutely. And now you can see Dark Zero once again up against the wall here, as they are nearly being eliminated, but they managed to hold on. Look at this. Zero and Sharky manage to stay alive, as now we make our way back over to NRG, who are having a decent game so far, finding themselves in the placement points here, nearly into the top 5, as now this ring, like you said, on the cliffside, making things oh so claustrophobic, as they are all fighting for this building.
And add to that now, Dark Zero going for a very cheeky reboot if they can indeed pull it off using that mobile respawn. NRG now in a fight. They get a takedown. They get 1, 2, 3. I'm sorry, Esports Arena have to go back to the drawing board.
Yep, that they do. They will be down and eliminated. And now we have our top 5. And NRG is very much alive. Sweet being able to get back up and in the fight. And I got to tell you right now, if NRG can continue to hold on to this building, they very well could ride this out to a win. But look at this. HEC coming out of nowhere and now landing on top, but they're going to have to drop down. And oh my word, they fall down to the firing squad. But now it will be Hill CST to lay down the damage. Hip firing with the G7 Scout, but it won't be enough. HEC are now eliminated.
Hill dropped down behind those two players and just lasered with the car and then swaps over the Scout, doing more and more damage. That Loba surviving with 1 HP and a dream. But again, the fight is on board. Here comes that mobile respawn from Dark Zero as NRG continues to fight in the middle of the building, buying them a few precious seconds to sneak out that reboot.
And now here it comes, and eventually it all came down to just 3. But look at this, the Loba, again, coming out huge for MP5, and this is what, MPS, apology. This is what we're talking about, how they can do so much in the late game and really supply a lot of support, and also having a Kraber doesn't hurt either. So let's see if they're able to put it to good use and hold on to this spot. Meanwhile, NRG finally forced to go out.
Now, MPS were third from the qualifiers on Tuesday, right behind G2 and Cloud9, but certainly happy with this position against the top teams in North America, hoping that they can make it from a top 3 position to maybe even clutching up the win. But the Loba is going down. Now here comes the Newcastle using that drop shield to try to pop the revive, but I think going for that revive was their undoing. They're taken down, leaving just 2 teams. Here comes Dark Zero versus NRG. Shots are raining down, and NRG are taking game number 3.
Well, isn't that sweet? No, literally, is that sweet standing there in the middle? Yes,
yeah,
it is.
I think it is.
That is sweet. As a matter of fact, that is sweet for NRG being able to take the game in game 3, as they will be your Apex champions for the last game on World's Edge.
NRG came in second place in game number 1, had a weaker showing in game 2, but it has to feel good to come back in game number 3. Quite the sweet finish that they have with that nice victory. But this game, just like games 1 and 2, didn't disappoint with the non-stop action.
Oh, and once again, we get to see that fantastic boot to the face there.
Yes,
oh,
more
yeah.
right here. There it is. There's 1. It's gonna be 2 in a row. Oh, it's so brutal.
Everybody was, in fact, kung fu fighting in game 3. Is once again, look at this last stand by TSM. They literally barraged their way into this building onto Countdown, and they lived and died in that building. And now this was it. This is where we got to see all heck break loose, as finally we did see the Nox finally go the way of NRG, who for the first time tonight will get themselves a win.
That Havoc was raining destruction. What a great win from NRG. In games 1, 2, and 3, we've seen a different winner each time. Will that happen as well as we had to Storm Point? We have 3 more matches. I would love to see tonight 6 different winners.
And you know what is actually really interesting? Take a look at this. Even though NRG managed to come in first, get the 12 placement points, they didn't get first in game 3. It was actually Dark Zero being able to steal the win away with a second place finish and 10 KP. That's why it is so important to get as much KP as you can while you can.
I think we had some high scoring teams here, both with placements and with the KP, but Dark Zero, love to see them kind of eking out that win with just 1 point over NRG. You see the placement points breakdown, but Team Liquid, another slaying power coming out with 8 kills in this game number 3.
Now it's important to notice where the guard is. As a matter of fact, the guard, FaZe Clan, and Furia at the bottom 3. The guard literally was holding the first place spot before game number 3. Now I'm not so sure. And not only that, but both FaZe Clan and Fury are also at the very bottom in game 3. It's just shocking to see. Not who's at the top spot, because by all means, these are some teams that we've talked about, but never in a million years did I expect to see those 3 at the bottom in game 3.
Now, FaZe Clan were the winners from last week, and now seeing the performance in the first 3 matches leaves something to be desired, I think, from them. But do they have the tenacity?
Yeah.
3 more coming up here on Stormpoint. We're going to head to a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be shifting scenes to a little bit more tropical, something to warm you up here as we head into December. We're going to TSM as this action unfolds.
I thought you guys were walking
Getting
in.
to
They
look
blocked
at the
us, you
camera.
idiot!
I don't know that.
Oh, they got my reaction. No.
I'm gonna go to the door.
And I have a knockdown. Oh. They have an armor swap.
I'm weak.
I cracked 2, I cracked 2!
Nice.
Both full vanity bars.
Nice.
Come on, come on, come on.
Great job.
Someone landed west.
Well, hello and welcome back once again to the Oversight X Hyperlux Apex Legends Circuit, Set 2, Week 2. Once again, I am Captain Etsoka, joined on the desk by none other than Magic Moonshot. Magic, voila. Welcome back. It is so much fun being on the desk with you. We got one half of the day out the way. Now we're going to the second half on Stormpoint.
No, I'm excited for a little bit of a change of scenery, but there's so much left to be determined. Now, first half, very dominant as we see the overall leaderboard coming across the scene. Guard placed in the top 3 games 1 and 2, but game number 3 was not their match. So is this a downward trend, or do they hold on to that top spot, which they're really holding on to by a thread, 1 point over NRG?
Yeah, now you see, this is a little interesting here. NRG definitely making their way up because before the Guard had a pretty substantial lead. Now they only have that 1 point lead over NRG, who has been consistent. They found themselves somewhere in the top 5 nearly every single time, if not every single time. And now the Guard, even though that they managed to finish last in game number 3, well, not last, but third to last, 0 points is what I'm referring to. And yet, even still, they still hold on to that number 1 spot. That was their gimme game. They can't afford to give one up like that again.
Yeah, they can't afford that for another match, but we do have 3 more matches for them to get points, whether that's kills or placement. A team I noticed there actually in 4th place overall is Team MPS, a team we had seen a little bit in that game 3, but hadn't seen a lot of, so really impressed with them for that consistency throughout. They didn't really have like one huge standout game. In fact, they were just getting points all the way, kind of the silent killer working their way up that leaderboard. So a few surprises for teams on the lower side, but also credit to teams like MPS or even Dark Zero for coming out really strong in games 1 through 3.
Okay, and now this is where everything gets shaken up. Throw all preconceptions out the window. That was World's Edge. We're heading to Stormpoint. The Guard could be a World's Edge team, and maybe not so much on Stormpoint. This is where we're going to see a real change in the standings. Things are really about to make a difference, and not only that, but speaking of differences, let's take a look at how the composition of character selection changes now that we're heading to a different map. And look at this. You already see Thaw coming out with a Pathfinder onto Stormpoint.
And we see Ash there on a Synox as well. I saw a bunch of Bloodhounds, seemed like a little bit more so than what we saw on World's Edge. So a little bit of changing things up when it comes to Stormpoint. Now, personally, I like Loba on Stormpoint. There's just the clusters of loot that her ult comes in handy. So maybe we'll see some Loba plays as well here.
We got to see them there on World's Edge, but you know what else I saw, Magic? I saw our newest legend, Catalyst being selected going into game number 4. I am really intrigued. I'm going to be paying attention because I want to know how this character, how can Catalyst find themselves in the meta?
Now, Catalyst is such an interesting choice. You know, the newest legend, so a little bit untested. And they, you know, the idea was that this was the counter to Seer. I think that kind of fell a little bit flat. Maybe with the upcoming changes, we'll see that more come into play. But still, Catalyst is an underutilized player when it comes to high levels of comp. So I would love to be proven wrong and see it kind of pay off. Gives us a little bit of variety, a little bit of creative play with either sectioning off areas of the map or even locking down some doorways. I mean, Catalyst can be annoying, to say the least.
Well, you see, that's the thing about it. I think it's because that they are still so new that they haven't found their place. I mean, look how long it took Newcastle to finally being, you know, utilized in the meta and in, you know, tier A competitions. And I think it's just a matter of time before we see more of Catalyst as well. It's just about finding their place.
Well, one thing we're going to see more of in a team that is trying to find their place is G2. They've had those aggressive plays, usually led by Chaotic, on the horizon, setting the stage for the rest of that push. In this case, though, it looks like they're going to double back. We'd like to listen in with Tripods and see what their strategy is in this early game fight.
Full heal.
I'm hacking in as well. There's a white spot down here.
We gotta shut it, zip up and get loot.
Yep.
That menu. Go. Nice. I didn't even see them flying in.
I didn't see it either, bro. It was like late as fuck. Alright, I got a beak scout right now.
I'm 30.
Not much there on the comms from Tripods. It looks like they didn't have the loot they were looking for in order to engage on that fight against G2. So a little bit of respecting space, maybe drawing a line in the sand. You guys go loot over there. We're going to come loot over here, but not an action happening just yet.
Nah, I like TSM comms more. I don't know. I'm just I don't think I'm ever gonna I don't think I'm ever gonna forget those comms. Meanwhile, MPS find themselves in some early danger here as they're going to be playing around the door, not giving much as they look to try and make the push as the Newcastle shield does go out, and now here comes Madness, nearly being knocked, but somehow still on their feet.
MPS had a great show in that game number 3 and then also just consistent on points throughout the first 3 matches. However, the Newcastle going for the revive at the end of game 3 might have cost them that game. And now with all 3 players weak, they're going to have to double back and hope that they can have enough time to heal up before that re-engagement.
Yeah, Squilliam fancy some better GTFO because NRG is hot on their heels right now. And keep in mind, NRG, currently that second place team, looking eyes fixed on the #1 spot. So this is going to be a team that is going to be coming in extremely intensive. They're going to be very abrasive here in game 4 as they look to deal as much damage as possible.
I love that Soga used the word abrasive there. I think that was just like a perfect placement of that adjective to describe the team play. And you want to talk about being abrasive. Sweet has the wingman with the skull piercer. So you hit that headshot and you are doing a heck of a lot of damage. They need to watch out. Any team that catches themselves against NRG, it could be in a world of pain. And it might go from beyond abrasive to absolute elimination.
Well, that's what they're going to be looking for, and they're going to take to the sky to get a bird's eye view to see where they can get their absolute elimination. And I think they might have found one lonely player there, and they're going to set up shop right across the street. Meanwhile, G2 in complexity go head-to-head, and now here comes Dark Zero getting in on the third party as they're going to be laying down all types of damage to finally put an end to complexity, as now both G2 and complexity will be eliminated.
Oh, a couple of heavy hitters there being taken down, and one word I have for you with Dark Zero: opportunistic. They took the opportunity and they blew it wide open to take advantage of that third-party fight, and they are left the victors for it.
Well, that they are, and now you can see Sentinels trying to find a little bit of victory of their own here as they do lay down the util dump onto SO, who have found themselves confined inside of this small space. But how long? How long can they stay there? That's the question. They're going to have to come out eventually. And meanwhile, all the teams just waiting for their opportunity to strike to get some early KP here in round 1.
Now, this team might be name slept on, but they're not a team to ignore. No taking naps. In fact, the Gibby was running some laps around that room, so looking like the close quarters wasn't the play that they were hoping for. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, the guard is eliminated, taken down by TSM, the top of the leaderboard team, now in a tough position after this first match.
And look at TSM. They're having a pretty abrasive game for themselves as they're bringing the all-out aggression here. You know, they're going guns a-blazing, trying to find some of that early KP because they do have a little bit of a way to go to find themselves in the top spot of the overall standings. So I don't blame them bringing a lot of aggression here to the early game of Game 4.
Well, was that a little Western? I heard your voice there with the gun. I like it. I like it. It kind of sets the stage for, like, you know, this town ain't big enough for the two of us or something like that. I want to see both players just kind of walking towards each other, then turn backs, walk 10 paces, turn around, see who hits that wingman shot on the head for the win. But I don't think that's what we're going to see.
Well, let's see if any of these players are going to find this Sentinel team here, as more and more squads are just literally stackpiling on this POI, and NRG finding themselves in a pretty lackluster situation there. I mean, they only have, I mean, Sweet is with a white shield right now. This is not a place you want to be for NRG.
No, not a great spot for them. Now, remember, he does have that wingman with the skull piercer, so maybe that'll be enough to counter the shields of the opposition. Meanwhile, Sentinels are trying to get this revive. There's a little bit of suppressive fire with the scout rifle, but if the Crypto can get this revive, he still needs to have time to pop off a reload. They have a little bit of cover, though, hopefully a little bit of time, but they're not going to have much room to breathe. NRG is just outside the door.
Yeah, that they are, and I was worried about them, but, well, maybe I shouldn't be, because they seem to be doing just fine, and already Sweet manages to get enough Evo to get up to that level 2 shield, but already getting dealt a massive amount of damage. They're going to have to retreat and recover as they are trying to hold the Sentinels in place here, again, constantly laying down that util dump, throwing the nades and arc stars all abound. Meanwhile, you have another team held up on the inside, and finally, the Sentinels will put an end to Slept On.
Oh, Slept On are going to go to take a nap. They're sleeping with the fishes for game number 4, but the fight's not over. We still have NRG and Sentinels, and just to their west, another team maybe looking to get in on that action or see how things unfold. For now, Sentinels are going to be able to shield back up. You saw Senrax on that Ash. I think the only team I've seen with the Ash in play got a nice little snare there, and that's something that can be really pesky when a team is trying to make a quick escape or a quick rotation. You catch him in that Ash snare and you say, hold it right there. You put a pin in it and hope that you can deal out enough damage before they can break free.
Yeah, and right now, one team that I'm really looking at is Optic. You can see they're trying to control the pinch here, but they literally have 2 teams on both sides of them, so they could have just as easily put themselves in a pretty dangerous situation, but now you can see it looks as though they are going to engage in FaZe Clan there on the outside. Meanwhile, you see Nick Merckx and company trying to make their way in, and there goes FaZe Clan literally trailing behind Optic. As you can see, they are right across the way there.
Well, another team to watch out for. It looked like C9 was on that northwestern corner, has a long way to rotate for Circle, and that's one thing that can be especially risky here on Storm Point. The Circle can be your worst enemy if you find a mountain range in between you and safety. Mind, you know, add on top of that, Prowlers, we got Spiders. Oh my goodness, there's some things about this map that I will never enjoy, and one of them is Spiders. Although you group enough of them up, you throw a thermite and you watch them all burn, that is satisfying.
Yeah, that's what happens when you come to Storm Point, or just Apex Legends in general. You got Prowlers and Spiders and Flyers, oh my!
Everything raining down. Here's Furia. We know they like to play aggressive. We saw Panda with some crazy wingman shots in the last game, but now working with the car as well as the EVA 8. Here is Dark Zero. Their patience paying off. They're still in this fight looking for opportunistic plays.
Yep, that they are. And meanwhile, we're talking about Dark Zero. They've been having a pretty good day themselves, being that, you know, this is the Aussie team that came all the way to NA just to participate in this tournament. And I got to tell you, they are definitely making a name for themselves as they continue to have a decent game here in Game 4. Still plenty of opportunity and plenty of KP to be had, but what a finish coming from the Catalyst there. Mamba putting an end to one unfortunate player down low.
Oh, and here's C9 finding themselves in the storm. 2 players are down, and now just Rocket left alive. What a bad spot they find for themselves. Meanwhile, CLG also out in the storm, but at least they have 3 up, hoping that they have enough heals to survive as they have to trek cross country with the storm eating away at their health.
Yeah, speaking of, I feel like Nick Merckx and company have literally been inside of the danger of the ring for the entire game. And now you also see CLG and the lone survivor Rocker for C9 also just fighting within the danger. And don't get me wrong, you definitely can do that. If that's your flavor, by all means, go with it. At the same time, you're not going to be getting yourself a lot of KP if you're constantly trying to work from the outside in, because by the time you get to the action, it's already moved on. And if you're a team like Tripod, you're going to have to get in on that action sooner than later, as the action might have just found them.
That action might be taking place here earlier than they would like, and this battle might just be going down outside of the circle. Both teams need to worry about the opposition as well as their own health bar ticking down. CLG has a little bit of a spread here as Tripod is grouped up in this square building. That building is like a labyrinth to me. I've gotten lost in that building more times than I'd like to admit.
This is my least favorite POI, not just on Storm Point, but I think in all of Apex Legends. I don't know why, but this particular Storm Point has accosted me somehow. And I never do good on this POI. Like, I never do. It's always a cluster whenever you drop here. And look at this. They're working inside of a round 3 ring, and it's still a cluster at this POI. It's just unlucky.
It is an unfortunate position, but it looks like Tripods are going to try to make the best of it. I didn't mean for that pun. It just happened, okay? I'm sorry. CLG now raining down fire. We have the Horizon ult at the ready, but there comes the win. Now Tripods also in that fight are taken out.
Just don't go to this POI. That's the lesson you learn here.
I've learned.
Yeah, but look at this though. We saw the lonely player Rocker from C9, and now they managed to bring back 2 players and get their full squad back and in the action. They do have a lot to recover, clearly, because they're going to be some tidy whiteys with the white shields. But that was a great clutch play coming from Rocker to make sure that they got the res and not only getting the tags, but also getting the reses too. Fantastic. That's the way you want to rat out a game if you have to.
And if you have to rat it out to get the points, it is well worth it. But there's no ratting it out right here. Sentinels are eliminated, and now we have the fight going down. Here comes the scans. We got some Seer ults in play. We had a Bloodhound, unfortunately, now dropped to the ground, and it looks like Optic is in trouble, down to just 1 player standing. There's a potential for revives, but will they have time to rotate over safely before those teammates get confirmed?
Well, let's see. Now we make our way to the Demons, who are looking to get some more KP on the board. There's still 13 squads, 37 players left, and plenty of opportunities to be had by all. As you can see, they're trying to lay down the util. They do get the read, and unfortunate for Optic Gaming, as Skittle Cakes will go down and will not taste the rainbow. Optic Gaming now eliminated.
Not tasting the rainbow. I love that. I'm gonna steal that one. Demons coming out with more KP in that fight. Now ESA is eliminated. Imperial Hal is last alive for the team in a fight. The car is lasering, tries to swap weapons. No, look at how little health was left onto Reeds, but the BR Demons are going to win over that fight.
Yep, the Demons. I'll be honest, to me there's nothing more impressive, not only initiating a fight and being able to take it, but then being able to hold off the inevitable third party that comes in afterward. So the Demons, I gotta tell you, thoroughly have impressed me, and now you might just have a new fan.
I like it. They're racking up fans here and also hoping to rack up some prize money because that $5,000 from today is going to the top 4 teams. And here we go. One of the teams in the mix is C9. They're trying to get some KP. They're trying to get some placement points, but they're down to only the Crypto alive. Look at the L-Star being put to work. Eliminated, though, as FaZe wins out the day.
Yep, that they do. And we have been waiting for FaZe to show up today, right? I mean, we were expecting them to go top fragging, honestly, from the get-go. But look at NRG. Now they're getting it on the mix. And now NRG is a team that has showed up from game 1 and has continued to lay down the plays to win the day and will put an end to FaZe.
Stop saying the word FaZe. Every time we give them an expectation to live up to, they just get wiped off the face of the arena. And unfortunately, down goes FaZe. A little bit of points for KP and placement, but definitely not the performance we were hoping for or expecting from them here today.
Well, that's why they call it Captain's Caster's Curse. I hope you know.
No cap?
No cap. Captain, not capping this time.
Well, unfortunately, the captain's curse is in full effect, at least as far as FaZe is concerned. We have in close proximity. It looks like NRG was on the brink of encroaching on that fight. Over here, we have Dark Zero yet again. After the first 3 games, they're in the 6th position overall. You'll love to see it. And the Seer is trying to find out what he can see using that heat sensor to scope out the opposition.
You know, with the introduction of Catalyst, I think this is like my favorite ability that they bring to the table. As you can see, CLG will be eliminated in that process, and the Catalyst, as I was talking about it again, Captain's Caster's Curse range true. I love that. I love the wall ability. It's the first one like it that we have seen in Apex. And I think it's only the beginning. I do like what they're bringing to the table. And honestly, CLG, they had a pretty good run there in Game 4. And I think it is, you know, making somewhat of a statement of where Catalyst can kind of fall into the meta.
You know, Catalyst might be part of the new meta, especially as some adjustments are coming through. But what about the Bangalore smoke as well? I'm starting to become more and more a fan of the Bangalore, being able to sprint when receiving that double time there when you're under gunfire, and then also the smokes. Now, sometimes smoke can just like freeze up your game. I guess it depends on how strong your computer is. On console, I can't play as the Bangalore, but on PC, she can be pretty pesky and hard to take down.
Oh, Bangalore's been top tier from the get-go, at least in my opinion. Like, literally day 1, Bangalore has always been one of the favorites in Apex Legends, especially when you put them, of course, with the Bloodhound. I love that composition. This could possibly be the new meta heading into this season, as, again, being able to lay down those smokes and being able to get the recon with Bloodhound, especially when you hear the ult being popped. It just makes it such a deadly combination, and you can see why here from Luminosity, putting it to the best use possible.
Luminosity working with what could become the new meta, certainly an interesting composition. And similar here, we have Dark Zero also with a Bangalore, although they have the Seer as opposed to like the Bloodhound there, but still getting the scans across. Almost an even fight here between the 2 teams, and then look at the Digi threat on top of it. That might just be the advantage that Dark Zero needs to find their opening.
Yeah, and finally, we're seeing Furia get into the late game here, which they have been finding themselves going out rather early time and time again, but now it looks as though they might be putting it into Luminosity, as now Furia only has 1 player left remaining. Although they did get the elimination on Luminosity, they're going to have to recover quickly before someone else picks them off.
Now TSM looks like they might be in prime position on the top of the building. The circle is going to be very small here shortly, and I like Dark Zero playing a little bit of cover. They're going to have just the smallest little sliver, the little slice of this building is going to be in the next circle, and this is a deadly circle. We're down to just 4 teams. Pretty much the whole circle is now covered in Bangalore smoke.
Yeah, and look at this, it's the Demons getting it on the mix. We already have seen them be a thorn in the side of some of the top contenders. They were able to take out TSM earlier on, and now they're looking to ride that wave of momentum to a win here in Game 4. As you can see, Furia on the outside trying to work their way in. Meanwhile, the Demons also working from the inside as that defensive bombardment has been called, and now NRG will go down in 4th. They do not make it to the podium this time round.
Oh, Dark Zero are in a great spot, but they are forced to rotate because of the circle. You see bodies on the ground, and Furia to the sky with the use of that horizon lift. Now Furia jumping in. They have some throwables left to work with. Now Panda has dealt out so much damage from the last game, but it looks like demons are being taken down, and now it's Furia closing in. They use that height advantage with the horizon lift to get the position they wanted, and they capitalized, all three left standing on this victory.
Not anything left to say except for get wrecked. And I'm all right, I'm kidding, but all jokes aside, Furia absolutely had a standoff game, and I hate to say it, but it was about time, you know, because I feel like Furia definitely had plenty of opportunities to really come through and take a lot of these games, and it really took all the way until we finally ended up on Storm Point for them to really find their rhythm and have themselves a great game.
Oh, you love to see it. Yet another winner here tonight. And so far, we've been having so much action. We saw a variety of legends coming out on Storm Point, including we saw some Bloodhounds. We saw the Catalyst coming out into play. And then, of course, you got the staples, right? You got the Seers, you got the Valkyries. But in the end, Demons going to come out with a good chunk of points as well. But Furia taking that victory.
Oh, yeah, and that was one that they needed. Keep in mind, in game number 3, they finished, I think, 19th out of 20. And they really needed to make a massive comeback there so that way they can salvage, you know, some remnants of a good position here on the overall scoreboard. Speaking of, it's going to be interesting to see how this one actually does turn out. Furia did manage to take the top spot there, so they're going to be guaranteed 12 placement points, but it's going to be about the KP to really make the difference, and they will get 9 on the board, taking the #1 spot there in game 4, but hot on their heels with the second place finish and 11 KP, Dark Zero.
Oh, love to see Dark Zero back in the mix and getting some great points there. 20 total on the game, 11 kills, being the ultimate slayers in the match. But BR Demons, don't underestimate a nice little even mix between placement and kills to lock down that third position.
Now, you really want to know what's going to shake things up on the overall standings here is the Guard. Once again, they finished with 0 points on the board. 2 back-to-back games. They were in the #1 spot, not any longer. NRG very well could have just taken it with that 4th place finish with a total of 11 points. And they might not even have it because of how many shakeups are happening. So I can't wait to see what those overall standings are going to look like now that we have had 2 back-to-back games where the top place team had 0 points on the board.
Just goes to show you that one game can tip the scales. And with that said, we do have 2 more games coming up. We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, game number 5 back on Storm Point.
Offensive bombardment has been called, and now NRG will go down in 4th. They do not make it to the podium this time around.
Oh, Dark Zero are in a great spot, but they are forced to rotate because of the circle. You see bodies on the ground, and Furia to the sky with the use of that horizon lift. Now Furia jumping in. They have some throwables left to work with. Now Panda has dealt out so much damage from the last game, but it looks like Demons are being taken down, and now it's Furia closing in. They use that height advantage with the horizon lift to get the position they wanted, and they capitalized, all 3 left standing on this victory.
Behind right there, Optic.
Hey Hey everybody, thanks for sticking with us. We've had some feisty games here tonight. This is week number 2 of split number 2. We have 6 weeks of competition building up for the finals that are coming up in mid-January. $5,000 on the line right now, but also looking at that $20,000 finals where the top 20 teams. So a lot to fight for both in the immediate future with the leaderboard you're looking at right now, but also looking a little bit more long term. And before we went to break here, Cap, you said this will be a shakeup of the leaderboard, and you called it. NRG stole that top spot, but look, also number 2, it's Dark Zero.
Oh, absolutely, and it's because they're consistent with the KP. Speaking of consistency, how about 2 teams getting 21 eliminations apiece? How's that for consistency? Blackjack for the number 1 and number 2 teams there, getting 21 eliminations apiece. Of course, the difference is in the placement points. NRG constantly and consistently find themselves within the podium. Even though they didn't get it there in Game 4, they still went out in 4th place. They're still getting some decent placement points. But you want to know something that's even more spectacular? After one game, Furia went from one of the last place spots to now number 6.
All right, we love to see that rise from the Team Furia, one of those teams that you had pointed out in the pre-show. Hey, it's always fun to watch his Watson going off. And do you feel like you kind of got what you asked for? Do you feel a little bit more validated with that, climb from the lower end of the leaderboard?
No, because my expectations are really high. Okay. I'm sorry. Furia, I know you're better. His Watson, I know you're better. It's time to pop off. Come on, roll the sleeves up. We're in Storm Point now. Get in the trenches.
Well, maybe the door is cracked open, and now this is their opportunity to just break it down with that spot on the leaderboard, definitely putting them in a closer reach for that top spot. So we'll see how that shakes up, but we do see that lead shift now. NRG as the overall leaders after a solid Game 3 and Game 4. Both of them, they've really seen an uptick in points for Team NRG. Somebody to watch out for, but Furia ultimately coming out with that win. That's the team that you said in that 6th place, and you see them now on the northeastern corner going out towards Lightning Rod.
Yeah, and you can see the circle kind of heading over towards Barometer. Not my favorite POI. But speaking of, while we're still somewhat in the early game, I actually wanted to ask, I didn't get to ask, what is your favorite POI when you're heading on Storm Point?
So I have 2 here, and Barometer is one of them because of the armor that, spawns there in that center building, but I also like the wall. So if you're looking at Imperial Hell and the rest of TSM there on the northern side, the wall is another drop point that I think is really fun.
You see, my favorites are the Down Beast, which we saw FaZe heading there, by the way. FaZe went immediately to the Down Beast. I like the rotations that go in and out. I also like being able to get on top of the Down Beast. I think it makes it a lot easier to actually rotate out of that area and to get a good indication of where you want to go. But I also like Canoe Cave just because I feel like that one is a little bit more isolated, so you can get a lot of looting done, and there's usually good loot there without having to really risk much. So 2 different sides of the same coin, I guess. But with that being said, we're looking at a lot of these different POIs here, and I think it's really interesting that Luminosity went to fish farms. Who lands on fish farms? Who does that?
They come out of fish farms and their smell warns everybody in the vicinity that they're coming. So it's kind of like this intimidation factor, right?
No. I'm sorry. Fish farms has got to be the worst POI on Storm Point. Well, that's a lie. I said the worst POI was that other one that shall not be named, but it's a close second.
Barometer?
No, not Barometer. That other one, that cluster one.
Even worse?
It has
in the middle of the river. Yeah, with the building that's a labyrinth. Okay, I'm back on track. Looks like MPS are trying to get some damage, get some attachments. The Prowlers being, quite the pest here at Jurassic Park, but MPS are kind of farming those Prowlers, getting some loot for themselves, a little bit of ammunition, some attachments, but it's being rudely interrupted by this team flying overhead.
Yeah, well, this is going to make an interesting turn of events here. And again, remember, this is where we saw MPS a little bit earlier on, and they managed to hold their own pretty well. But whenever that third party comes in, I'm sorry, but Jurassic Park is like third party city. It is such a difficult POI to constantly try and take control of. Meanwhile, we head back over the team of Liquid to see how they're doing here at the beginning of Game 5.
Tell you what, you hide at Jurassic Park, even if you're crouched behind the counters in the kitchen, the velociraptors will sniff you out. So it's never safe. One of the best terrifying scenes. Here's the Loba ult being thrown out, looking for any loot that's in the area. And the nice thing there with the Loba is you can pop it somewhere in cover, give you a little bit of shelter, and it saves a lot of time from rotating across that area. So a little bit safety, a little bit of efficiency in the timing is going to get them some of those attachments, including this double tap trigger on the scout rifle.
Oh, that's going to be dangerous. And that is honestly my favorite combo. That's like finding, you know, a Christmas present early. Whenever you can get the double tap onto the G7 Scout, or even on the EVA 8 for that matter. I'm pretty sure it goes on the EVA 8 if I'm not capping again.
It does.
Yeah, so again, just having that double tap, probably one of the better attachments in the game, in my opinion.
Okay, but Skull Piercer though, I'm sorry, I love the longbow, you know. Oh, speaking of, oh my goodness, it's like I manifested it. And also, I like it when Keon finds purple armor in the next room. Yeah, sometimes you just gotta go for it, you know, just gotta ride it. But hey, longbow in hand, maybe we'll come across a Skull Piercer as well to put on the attachment. I might come off of this cast to test out double tap a little bit more. I haven't been convinced, but like, I trust you, Cap. So, you know, I'll go back, I will test it out a little bit moving forward.
Hey, I gotta only add one thing about the Skull Piercer, and which is why I don't use it. You have to be able to get headshots to make the Skull Piercer viable. So if you're like me and you're garbage, it's better to go for quantity over quality.
So the double tap, twice the bullets.
Now,
I see.
Now you get it.
We'll see if these attachments go head to head. I'm definitely going to keep my eyes open for those scout rifles, especially if the double tap is in play. But as Sentinels kind of rotate through this section of the map that shall not be named, it looks like they scared off. Was it Team Slept On? It was somebody else that was getting out of dodge as Sentinels rolled into town.
Yeah, Slept On is not going to sleep on that POI. They know that it is not worth fighting over. And I don't know why so many exchanges go down in that particular POI, because there's not much there. You have the crafting station and that's about it. It's not worth fighting over. Like, they literally fall from the sky. You can find another crafting station, but regardless, Slept On now going to be rotating out, trying to find new home in a new area, and it looks like they might have found it.
Okay, I have to ask, are crafters G8'd?
I don't know. They could be.
Okay, I just haven't seen them like being utilized. Like for me, I just like stockpile batteries like it's about to be the zombie apocalypse or something whenever I get to go a crafter, but I haven't really been seeing them utilized. So I don't know if that is you know, a GA that I'm not aware of, but you know, maybe we'll find out one of these days. In the meantime, Tripod on top of the building are literally gatekeeping the edge of the storm, including the missiles from Valkyrie raining down, getting the crack and getting the location there of the player.
Oh yeah, this is fantastic. And not only that, but like you said, they have that G7 Scout with one cracked shield. And the gatekeeping. This is going to be oh so dangerous. But look at the ghost shots coming out from behind the wall. That is spectacular, because they are not only being able to avoid the danger, but they're landing their shots. I know it's kind of... I don't want to say it's not a broken mechanic, but I still think it's impressive nonetheless. It's a little tacky, but when you're on the other end of the ring and you are literally being fired upon from the high ground, those ghost shots can come in clutch.
And the ghost shots you're referring to are like head peeking over that wall?
And then shooting instantly, yeah. So it basically sends out bullets without even making it look like your head pops up.
Well, it looks like the answer to my question came through there. The crafter being used to get some med kits, allowing Tripod and team to, the Tripod team rather, to be able to hold this high ground in the storm. They have the crafter there, pop some med kits, they're good to go. And it's kind of a game of chicken there against Furia. The headshots over the wall could pay off for Furia, but they're going to have to survive for a long time before Tripod is forced off of that high ground.
All right, and now for yet another daily dose of Captain's Castle's Curse. So I'm going to say it again. We're making our way to phase. I said phase. So let's see what happens as now they try and find their way, flanking Season, who is right on the other side of this gigantic rock.
Hold on. What team are we watching, though?
Phase.
Oh, okay. It's FaZe. It's FaZe, the winners from last week, who so far throughout today have not been giving us the show we expected. But it's not too late. We got Game 5 and Game 6. They could turn this right around. We're going to go to a quick listen in to see what their strategy is as FaZe tries to do everything to climb that leaderboard.
Not really, no, not really.
I'm moving up on the right with Mac.
It's my ult.
Is there a way we can?
I have a bomb on me.
Go to your right, Mac, go to your right.
Oh, what?
110 on that guy.
That's a new team. That's a new team.
Okay, then
I
back
died
up.
from behind. I died from behind.
There's another team behind.
Yeah.
We can
There's a
wrap.
shell here, it's not.
Yep. We should wrap into this like now if you can.
I
You
don't have a
smoke
smoke
it.
for a 5. No.
Okay,
no,
we'll wait.
3 seconds. 2 seconds.
There's no one under the bridge right now.
PL is behind you guys.
Okay. Wow. Actually getting shot in the back right now. That's
feel
just
like
some random guy that ran up.
All right, Cap, from that listen-in, what do you think about FaZe, and is the captain's curse coming true as Slurp is taken down?
Yes, the curse once again reigns true. As you can see, they did lose Slurp, and now they are fighting within the ring here, well, within the danger of the ring, and slowly but surely sealing their fate as they finally do make it back into the good graces of the safety. But at the same time, look who is right there and across the way. It is Team Liquid. If they can even get a sniff of FaZe on the other side of this water, FaZe is going to be in some danger here. But meanwhile, Team Liquid, they're just going to carry on. They didn't even notice.
That's wild to me. I mean, they have the seer. They must know that FaZe exists there. I'm not really sure who it was. I'm sure there is a reason. Like that I am sure of. I haven't quite figured out what that is. But luckily enough for FaZe, they will have the chance to get the tag, get to circle. They didn't have far to go for next circle, working in their favor. So hopefully we'll see them back at full force before this game is out. We've seen some pretty clutch reboots. Maybe it's time for FaZe to pull off one of their own.
Well, let's see if they can get the job done. Meanwhile, NRG are going to have to work without Sweet. Sweet has been eliminated, and they cannot be brought back. NRG currently, once again, holding that top spot, but for how long? They are not off to a great start here in game number 5. Meanwhile, we make our way over towards the guard. As you can see, they're going to be working onto the outside of the ring, trying to get shots down on to Dark Zero, who are literally just right below Keon here. And so far, we have seen that the guard have not amounted a lot of KP here in game 5.
Well, look at that bridge being just absolutely locked down by Watson fences. So even though they might not have much KP right now, they have that high ground position. They have some long range weapons. So this might be their opportunity for KP. Meanwhile, a familiar position. It's Tripods yet again in a storm fight. And no, not again. Still, it's still Tripods versus Furia in this storm fight. Both teams utilizing that crafter to get some med kits and try to stay alive. But I see the Seer ult coming out. I'm not sure if that is from Team Furia or if it's potentially a third party.
I'm not sure. Regardless, whenever you fight over that POI, both teams lose. That's how I feel about it. But now, once again, you can see Nick Mercs making their way inside of the ring all the while. You see C9 starting to head towards that center ring a little bit early here. They're going to be working on outside of the bank. But look at this. Team Liquid getting the flank on Optic over there on the ridge line. That is going to be huge. And then meanwhile, also, you see FaZe getting into some action themselves. And this is where we're going to see a lot of these teams start to kind of flow in here as they all make their way over towards the next ring.
It does look like FaZe are back to a full team of 3 and just in time as the action is happening. There's just like little cluster fights on nearly every corner of the map right now. This building is locked down by the guard, living up to their name with this defensive positioning, using that Watson ult, and then the Crypto at the ready. It looks like the ult has been used recently from Crypto, so that's not going to be a factor immediately, but that's some great shots from Keon. The first knock comes through. Now the Eva 8 dealing out damage. That's 2 down. That's the third. Team Slept On is eliminated.
And honestly, that was a beautiful retake because we saw that, you know, it looked as though the guard had to work from down low and then come up, and they had to take a lot of damage there.
Oh, no.
And still, they were able to eat it and still deal out the elimination. Speaking of, FaZe are going to be eliminated as well.
19th in this game. That's just not going to be enough. So much pressure on them in the next match. But, you know, as far as looking forward to the finals, which honestly they have to do at this point, luckily they have some good points from week number 1, because this week just has not been it for them. But there's other teams that are making this their week. Tripods have been trying and fighting patiently to get in on the mix after living in the storm for so long, lining up the shots. One player is at 1 hit just around the corner underneath the bridge. Can the wingman connect even through the smoke? That's 3 shots in a row for another crack.
Sometimes you just got to take the shots and hope that they land, but now they are going to be able to get at least 1 elimination from that exchange, and now you can see Esports Arena will be eliminated.
Esports Arena, you're gonna have to wait for game number 6 yet again. Team that hasn't had a huge showing here yet tonight, but this is only week 2. We got 6 weeks of gearing up for the top 20 that will then be in the finals. And here's the replay of those beautiful lasered dings from the wingman.
Oh yeah, it hits different when you get smoke on the water. So again, fantastic shots coming out from that wingman. Now we make our way back over to CLG, who find themselves in a decent position here. I do like the way they have themselves set up. They get the high ground. They got their backs to the ring, so they're not going to get flanked clearly. But also, this is the team that has the catalyst, so it's going to be interesting to see how they are able to put that new legend to use. And it's now, you can see it will be Team Liquid taking on TSM towards the outskirts.
Furia is eliminated. That was the team in the fight, the prolonged fight against Team Tripod. I'm not sure which team's going to come out with that KP, but Furia, the winners of game number 4, are taking an early exit here in game number 5. Now on board with TSM, trying to pop some medkits, a little bit of shields, a little missile there from the Valkyrie is going to hit its mark. And looking here at the damage going out, Verhulst almost at 1,300 damage, and we're still looking at 16 squads remaining as NRG now is eliminated, making it a 15.
Yeah, and again, this is still an astonishing number, at least in my opinion. Well, not so much for, of course, A-tier competition, but still, 15 squads going into round number 5, only 50 seconds left of round 4. I still think that is a little claustrophobic. That is a lot of teams in a small amount of area, as now you can see Team Liquid are being fired upon from up high. And now Reverse Psychology trying to lay down the damage, but they are going to opt out to try and rotate back round as TSM are going to try and give chase, but to little to no avail.
Oh, and check it out. Here's Tripod now setting their sights on Optic. Tripod now on the bottom floor. Optic are taking residence in the upstairs, and it looks like I was gonna say a pretty straight up 3v3 fight, but now I'm seeing shots just raining every direction. Tripod's in that low, protected from overhead explosions, maybe a Bangalore or a Gibby ult, but other than that, they don't have much cover to work with, as here comes Team Liquid.
And here they come, and we have already seen Team Liquid have some ups and downs, to say the least. When they pop off, it's great, but when they don't, it's bad. There's no better way to put it. As you can see now, Team Liquid trying to work their way in, and it will be Thog laying down the damage all the while. The Bangalore ult does come out, and Thog is forced to retreat.
All right, I kind of predicted that Bangalore ult, so maybe Tripod, I was going to say they had some cover, but no, they're eliminated. HEC is also eliminated. Every fight here, and now we see those death boxes stacking up yet again. Optic Gaming was that team in the second floor and the upstairs inhabitants, and now they come down. They're doing some quick armor swaps as they continue to receive fire. They will have some space in this building even when that circle closes, so they're doing everything to stay alive.
I told you it was getting claustrophobic. As soon as we went into round 5, the death boxes started hitting the floor. That's when the elimination started to come out. And now you can see all the attention is focused around C9 and this building. All the while, C9 are going to be on the first floor. There's another team on the second, and C9 going to go for the push here. They have the Watson ult. They know at least one player is there on the outside. And you can see Zach Mazer will be knocked just barely, as now we also know, thanks to the kill feed, that Team Liquid are also eliminated.
I mean, we could have spent the last minute reading the kill feed because we went from about 13 teams, cut it in half to now to 7 in about a minute's worth of time. So many big names have been taken out, and now C9 are trying to survive, but it's not going to be enough. C9 is next. They're going to end up with 7th place, but the fight continues. Here's Dark Zero on the attack. Sharky's trying to finish off a kill, going for the armor swap. Not the finisher, the armor swap. Gets that armor swap to come through. 2 players looking strong on Dark Zero, but they do have the tag of their 3rd teammate.
Do you think the player down that Loba was deliberately blocking the death box to...
Ooh.
Do you think that was on purpose?
I mean... pro strats, if it, I mean, literally pro strats, if that was the plan. I couldn't tell you. I wouldn't have thought to do that, but it certainly did hold them up for a second as it queued for the finisher instead of that armor swap.
Yeah, but now we make our way back over to Optic Gaming, who is having a much better time round here in game number 5 as they're going to be going toe-to-toe with TSM. And look at the lasers coming from MNK, an absolute baddie with the flatty, being able to deal out a massive amount of damage. And you can see, once again, from the kill feed, Complexity now will be eliminated, and we are down to 5.
And now if you're a baddie with a flatty, you can give him a jolt with that Volt, but you need to have some ammo to work with. Hell, down to just 13 rounds of energy ammo left. That after raining down a whole lot of fire, but now Sentinels, another Volt in the action, this time in the hands of, I believe that was Senox there on the Ash as Dark Zero is eliminated. We're down to just 2 teams.
Where has Sentinels been this entire time? Have they just been trying to make it back into the ring? Have they just been outside of the ring this whole time? Well, now you can see Crust trying to work from the outside in, breaks out the car, lays down a little damage here. They have a read on all 3, going from up on high. This could be it, as the Sentinels will take game number 5.
I'll tell you where Sentinels were in game number 5. They were slaying. They were stacking up bodies, and they were coming out to take the win. And I tell you what, in those final seconds, they made it look so easy. They just cornered the final player. They team fired, took them down, and a beautiful win in Sentinels.
Oh, absolutely. Honestly, there was so much going on in this game 5. Like, really,
yes.
when you go back and look at it, it was really just chaos from start to finish. But look at these shots from the wingman, from Deeds. I would hate to say it's the play of the game, but the shots were just so perfect.
Yeah, the wingman shots were beautiful. Before that, you saw the guard with a little EVA 8 action up close and personal. That was beautiful. And now TSM, we got to slow it down. What was it you say about the flatline?
Oh, the baddie with the flatty. And what did you say about the Volt? Give him a jolt.
Give him a jolt with that Volt. I tell you what. Now here comes the collapse from Sentinels. TSM were weak off of the last fight. They were low on ammo, and Sentinels, this is the team fire. Look at how confident they are in this push. They know it's a 2v1. They know they have the final player cornered. A nice win coming out for Sentinels in game 5.
Now, you see, I feel bad because I have not been paying attention to Sentinels before Game 5, so I didn't even really know where they stand on the overall standings. But after that one, it's going to be interesting to see how the total points lead up because keep in mind, NRG still trying to hold on to their top spot. We're only a game away from game number 6, and you can see the Sentinels literally having a one-sided victory here. 23 points in first place, followed by TSM with 14 and Dark Zero with 12.
And we talked about Senox winning the 1v3 in qualifiers in order to clutch up that 10th spot that brought them to today. And now going from that clutch play on qualifiers to winning in game number 5. I mean, that's a storyline you love to see from Sentinels. Not just winning, but the 23 points almost doubled up anybody else on the scoreboard.
Now, you see, we might see a big shakeup again in the leaderboard because NRG just had themselves a 0-point game. They were trying to hold on to that #1 spot, but like we saw with the guards, if you have that 0-point game, you're giving an opportunity for a lot of these other teams to come and take your spot. So if NRG is not careful, they could easily lose that spot as quickly as they got it.
Well, so far throughout tonight, the Guard won game 1, Complexity game 2, then NRG Furia Sentinels. We've had 5 games, 5 different winners. Can we go 6 for 6? We're going to go to a break, and when we come back, we'll find out the answer.
They have a Where has Sentinels been this entire time? Have they just been trying to make it back into the ring? Have they just been outside of the ring this whole time? Well, now you can see Crust trying to work from the outside in, breaks out the car, lays down a little damage here. They have a read on all three, going from up on high. This could be it, as the Sentinels will take game number 5.
I'll tell you where Sentinels were.
Sentinels is third party in the whole thing. Just a wait.
Sentinels, you weren't invited to this party. What are you doing? There's no shot. They
Just
could
wait
be
too long.
both teams. Don't qualify with Sentinels showing up here.
Yeah, I mean, there were no openings.
No.
There were no openings, so neither team could really push without being suicidal. Sentinel's gonna come in and potentially clean up both teams.
Looking to connect one of these scout hipfire shots, and 100 Thieves eliminated. 100 Thieves are indeed out.
The zone, I didn't see where the zone's pulling. Is it
The
going?
zone is pulling a little bit further. Oh, they are actually going to fight Sentinels versus Dark Zero here.
And Bangalore smokes are in. Sentinels with the Seer and the Digi Threat gonna put some nice damage in from Synox. Jin Burton is killed Crust in the kill feed. So it's a 2v3 at the moment. I think Sentinels 2, Dark Zero 3.
I mean, not if Synox has anything to say about it. Synox is doing some crazy damage here with the read. Look at these shots. Tech very low. Synox doing the damn thing right here.
Let's go.
Oh my goodness. Synox just popped off right there.
That's a clip.
Well, hello, all legends. Welcome back once again to Oversight X Hyperlux Apex Legends Circuit Split 2, Week 2. Once again, I am your bald, beautiful host, Captain Etsoka, joined by the most amazing Magic Moonshot. Magic, we got 5 games down. Now, only one more to go.
Yeah, I like to call myself your favorite purple-haired person, but I don't know if that's true, Captain Exoga. I don't know if you like have friends that actually like have hair. So there's a lot of questions left, but we want to see if we can go 6 games, 6 different winners off of that Sentinels win in game number 5. Dark Zero now are at the top of the scoreboard with NRG just nipping at their heels.
Now, remember in the beginning, the point spread was so wide, it looked as though, you know, it was going to be an easy dub for that top spot. Now look how close it is. NRG only 5 points down away from that top spot, but that's what happens when you have a 0-point game. Easy come, easy go. Number 1 spot for NRG, no mo.
That was beautiful. You're a poet and you didn't even know it. I don't know if we'll see any legends changes here, but I think I did actually notice one. It looks like CLG traded out the Catalyst for a Bangalore, if I caught that. It was a kind of a quick look at the lobby because these are some gamers that are ready to game, and it is game on in game 6.
It most certainly is. So, as now we can see that this will be the last game of the night, I think we're going to see one or two things. Either we're going to see the sweatiest of the sweat, or we're going to see a little bit lackluster gameplay because it's not set in stone. Well, when you're thinking about it, though, for that top 10, it's nearly set in stone. Meanwhile, on the latter half of the leaderboard, it's more of a tough fight. So it's going to be, I think we're going to see a lot more slower pace of play. Let's just say that.
Okay, I mean, we haven't seen slow pace at all tonight. I guess the players could shift completely for game number 6. I don't think I would expect it, but I could be wrong, and I would own that. The interesting thing right now is that with $5,000 on the line here tonight, it only goes to the top 4. Those are the spots to look out for. Currently, it's Dark Zero, NRG, The Guard, and Sentinels, but will they hold on to their chunk of that prize pool?
I don't know. I want $5,000. I mean, I just wish I was this good so that way I could compete for my share of $5,000. Gas is high. I need to get in on this. But regardless, we're going to get back in on the action here as, again, we are in game number 6, the last game of the night. So, who is going to be able to make the most of it and come out on top to get the big chunk of change? Keep in mind, Dark Zero, correct me if I'm wrong, have not won a game so far tonight, but with the consistency that they have been playing with, managed to take the number 1 spot away from NRG. So, with this last match here and now, this could very well be the solidifying match for Dark Zero to take the first place spot.
It'd be impressive to see them coming out with a win. They've had 2 second-place finishes, but no victory under their belt. Will it happen right here, right now? So far, we have a little bit of a fight going down early on. G2 are taking that fight. It's Nick Merckx who goes down, and that's it for Tripod. G2 getting the 3 KP up on the board and getting 1 check off of their hit list.
Yeah, and G2, again, they have been playing pretty good as well. We haven't seen them come away with a win yet, but they are playing very consistently, and they are gunny. Oh, yeah, they like to get the KP on the board. They definitely play more for KP than they do placement points, and it's really just a balancing act of trying to do well in both. So, not surprised to see G2 on the board early here, but unfortunately for Tripod, like you said, they're going to be the first ones down and out, and that will be it for them for the evening.
Well, we'll see how Tripods can do in the overall leaderboard, especially as we move into weeks 3 through 6, all gearing up for that finals, that $1,000 final in January. Definitely something that these players have in their minds, but for the money right here, right now, it is highly contested for those top 4 slots. So a team we haven't really seen in much of the end game is Team Slept On here. So maybe another team to watch out for that are still looking to make their mark in this series.
Well, let's see. Speaking of POIs, by the way, this is also one of my other favorites. Notice it's one of those rotations. It's one of the rotations that come out of the down beast. That's why I like it. And windmills, I've never been to windmills, and there has not been good loot there. I always find good loot at windmills. Speaking of, look at this. You can see right now Team Liquid on top of the rock with little to no loot. Again, you got 2 tidy whitey shields, 1 level 3. Thank goodness for Thog to get their hands on that. And meanwhile, they're just trying to land some miracle shots. We've already seen it happen once through the smoke on the water with the wingman. Now can they get it done with the G7 Scout?
And the guard and C9 are just in an all-out brawl. The guard are in some trouble here. Rambo tosses that Arc Star, has to trade for the white armor as the crypto EMP is coming through. C9 look like they have the advantage here, especially with the Watson ult in place, and now the revive able to come through. They're charging up those shields. They're trading out medical supplies, and I don't know, it looks like this is all but one for them. They might have just scared off their opposition.
Yeah, so much to my slow pace theory. That's completely out of the window now. Yeah, I mean, Captain be capping. What can I say?
Now TSM, though, they might have scared away one team, but they've attracted attention. It's the double seer ult stacked on top of each other. Both teams looking for that information, but with that information, Imperial Hell is just an absolute laser with the 301.
Yeah, not just a baddie with the flatty. Apparently they can get the job done with the 301, as now they are giving chase to this team, trying to solidify those eliminations and obtain the KP, trying to get an early lead here because TSM have been having a decent day. It hasn't been all doom and gloom. They've been managing to find themselves on the board time and time again, but now they need to find themselves a win here in Game 6 as they will peek the corner to finally put an end to Klain. And there you have it. TSM will get another point on the board.
And they're looking for the rest of that team. I'm not sure what Klain was doing, just dumping health items out of his inventory as TSM rounded the corner to get the takedown. I don't know. It was different. It was different. It looks like, oh, unfortunately, it's the last player from Esports Arena who's on the run with a full team from TSM hot on his trail. And I don't know. This would be a miracle 1v3 if Cody can clutch it up here, but instead, he's going to be eliminated.
Hey, regardless, if you're going to go down, do as much damage as possible to the team taking you out. So, going down like an absolute champion. Gotta give them credit, but there you have it. ESA next on the chopping block as they will be done for the day.
Yeah, Cody pulled off that crazy double reboot. I think it was game number 1 in order to get some points there. But in this game, not able to escape with his life. TSM too aggressive on the chase. And speaking of a team that has played aggressively, it's Dark Zero. Now, Dark Zero are the current leaders, but so far, it's been a dangerous position to hold. Top of the leaderboard has gotten 0 points in the following match. I think twice, maybe 3 times. So definitely not room for comfort here as Dark Zero looks like they cleaned out some spiders, which I appreciate. They got some attachments on the ground, but they need to be smart about which fights they pick.
Now, when we're talking about playing slow pace, if there's a team that needs to do it, I think it's Dark Zero. They currently have the #1 spot, and they got a 5-point lead. You don't have to risk it for the biscuit. You have got to play smart, and you have got to play methodical. Do not rush success. Make sure you take your time and make smart, concise decisions. And that Arcstar off to a good start as they try to kick the door in, but we already know Catalyst is just going to make even the most mundane obstacles even more difficult.
Yeah, that door is going to take 4 kicks to break down, which is out in the open, so it's going to deal a lot of damage. And there's the Catalyst just on the other side. As they break down the door, the Catalyst kind of just reinforces it and says, yeah, not so quick. So they're still trapped at the bottom of that building. Meanwhile, over at Windmill, here is the fight that you kind of saw building when we were here earlier.
Oh, absolutely. This is the Windmills. It goes down in the Windmills. It does. As you can see, it will be the Demons trying to force their way in and force the issue, not being able to get a cracked shield, but they do force the opposition to back off, forcing them to retreat, and now it looks as though that the Demons will be taking control of this POI.
So at Windmills, you win kills. Is that what you're telling me?
Facts.
Okay, we'll see if that reigns true for BR Demons. We've seen some good performance from them throughout today, but they're up against Optic, and Optic have a little bit of the high ground position. They also have that Bloodhound scanned to give the information. They see the flank coming in, a little bit of early damage being dealt by Optic. This is a pretty even fight between these two teams. I'd have to say Optic with the advantage just because of the high ground position.
Oh, absolutely, but now we could see Slept On will now finally sleep permanently. But with that being said, we are now going to go to a listen and to hear what the Demons are talking about.
Should be somebody up here.
Right.
No, they weren't playing high. They're playing in the room.
I'm in there.
Okay.
We're chilling, man. We're chilling.
Okay, I'm getting shot from behind.
Yeah, just probably
Like right on me is
Yeah,
like
yeah,
really good.
here.
Yeah, this kind of sucks.
I have no cells, by the way. Just 4 bats. Literally no cells.
They're all 3 here.
4 cells now.
Fuck, bro.
Not a lot of information going down there, but some patience, some trading of shields, helping each other out, and Demons waiting for the opportune moment to strike. Meanwhile, though, as soon as we get off of the listening, it looks like Glitter Gunner is taken down. The horizon is down, and right after that, the second player, Optic, are 3 strong. The armor swap is a valiant effort, but the Valkyrie is eliminated, and that's it. Demons are done.
Now, I don't know why that it could be said that there was nothing going on in that listen-in. We did get to see Vayne twerk. That was nice. You know, we got to see Seer again.
We're looking for very different things, I think, here at Soka.
But they were, though. Seer was twerking on top of Mills. So that's something. There's always something to be found. It's never nothing. But regardless, it will be Optic being able to come in huge, getting that elimination, getting the KP, and now getting the POI as well, as you can see with this beautiful bird's eye view. Thank you to the production. TSM setting themselves up on high here, trying to gatekeep anybody that would even dare try to cross paths with MNK.
Now, we talked about how this game has been nonstop, actually all of tonight's games, that fast pace. And, you know, you shouted out production. We also need to shout out for those observers, because they have been finding those fights and just delivering the intensity and the fights to our screen to always give us something to keep an eye on. And that's a tall task. You got 20 teams to try to keep track of. So finding where that next fight is going to break loose. We definitely have to shout out the people behind the scenes that are keeping this show running.
Oh, 100%. They have been doing a fantastic job from start to finish. And now, with 14 squads remaining here in Game 6, I can only imagine that their job is about to get a lot harder, keeping up with all of these teams that are about to come into crossfire with one another. As currently, we are taking a look at Furia here, as they are going to be making their way, getting in exchange with TSM, and it's going to be Imperial Hal going up high, finally finding the ground, and looking for cover behind the supply bin. And like I was saying moments before, This is just a powder keg waiting to pop off.
And it might just detonate here right in front of us as they try to shoot out that horizon. All they managed to do so. The ping's coming through, some information from the Seer with that heat sensor, and the thermite giving even more information. It's not just the damage, but the ticks for on that thermite. It's gonna leave though Hal last alive. He's trying to finish off the kill. He's trying to shoot around the knockdown, and it looks like it's not enough. He almost gets that second knock, but instead TSM eliminated.
Yep, close but no cigar. I mean, they did get a good bit of KP. You know, they didn't go down with nothing. They put up a good fight, but at the end of the day, they could not hold on to the bitter end. And now we make our way back over to Team Liquid as they are still holding on to this spot here. They haven't moved since the beginning, since round 1. They have just been in the same spot, and they do crack a couple of shields with the G7 Scout, but, you know, they're going to have to venture out eventually.
It looks like CLG here is rotating around, the final player looking for an armor swap. They have a player on the ground here for Luminosity, trying to get that revive as well. But again, no rest. Are we in a little bit of a 1v1 right now? It looks like we have a Bangalore versus a Valkyrie. Those might be the two last standing. See if the shots can come through with a charge rifle at point blank. The Valkyrie is just playing every inch of cover, but in the end, Bangalore with the charge rifle. Sounds like a game of Clue right now. Bangalore with the charge rifle in the armory.
I'm at a loss for words. That was fantastic. That was probably some of the best casting that I think I've heard for Apex Legends. I wish I had that amount of skill, because yes, you are 100% right. The charge rifle coming in to save the day in a 1v1.
Wild.
Getting the job done. Absolutely wild. And now we're making our way back to Furia, who are looking to finish strong here in game number 6. Keep in mind, they are currently in the 6th spot overall. They only need to claim 2 more spots to find themselves in the money. And so far, they are the kill leaders, so they are off to a great start here in game 6.
A great start, but they want to add placement points on top of that. This Gibby is not getting any relief as Furious are furying through the building. Valkyrie plays that wall well, but it's not enough. The Volt is going to get the job done.
Can't blame that one on me. I didn't say phase.
You didn't.
Nope. That one was all Furia being able to get the win there, putting themselves that much closer to being in the prize pool for today's weekly. As now we go to Luminosity. To Luminosity. As they lay down a lot of damage, not being able to get much, though, in exchange. That wall making a perfect defense for whomever is on the other side, but finally the push comes through for Luminosity, as you will see Yanya laying down all the damage with the jolt from the Volt, being able to pick up that elimination, and now here comes C9 to join the party.
Yeah, MPS eliminated in that fight, but the Volt is going to work, as well as that double tap on the Scout Rifle. What a great combination. C9 is in trouble. There's no way that med kit gets popped off. You gotta look for an armor swap, but no, it's gonna be too little too late. The last player alive is down to just scraps of health, and it looks like that's gonna be the end for Luminosity in this game 6.
Now, how you like this? Some more crypto action coming through. Getting all the pings that they need as C9 finally being fully eliminated at the hands of Team Liquid.
Dude, that information coming through, and then the cleanup there. We've seen windows being used, and now just the smallest gap in the fence is all that they needed to get that team wipe. Great plays there coming out from Liquid, as team after team after team is like a chain reaction of deaths.
And I can't help but point out the 2 teams that are in contention for that #1 spot that are still going head-to-head. NRG, Dark Zero, right across from one another. Whoever manages to win this exchange, because you know they're going to have to fight eventually. Meanwhile, Dark Zero taking shots from Furia, his Watson, trying to lay down the damage onto Dark Zero inside of that building. Meanwhile, you have NRG with a team right outside of their spot as well. This is going to be where the game is decided between the #1 and #2 spot. Dark Zero and NRG.
You called it so well. The 2 of them still being head to head, not just in building side by side, but in the circle. Like, those are the teams that have the premier circle positioning, and that's the #1 and #2 seed, overall teams right now. NRG just 5 points down from Dark Zero. A win here for NRG could flip this leaderboard upside down, but the other teams are not going to make it easy, including Furia, who have been fighting tenaciously throughout the game. Maybe a little bit of a miss there with the smoke, but trying to line up on the second one. In fact, the first missed smoke is going to turn into a little bit of cover to try to pop some shields.
I gotta tell you, Furia is absolutely popping off here in Game 6. They have, at bare minimum, 6 eliminations on the board, and I can't help notice that his Watson has 6 assists, but this is going to be a tough sell here. They gotta rush across, and it takes the Beast of the Hunt just to get across safely, and they still lose a player in the process. His Watson does get knocked and will be eliminated.
Now Furia is down just to Panda. I believe that Bloodhound in the bottom of the building trying to stay alive. We're still looking at 7 squads across the board. Sentinels are getting a takedown, but are also finding themselves in a very difficult position. We see Crust was eliminated, and now Senox and Coach are trying to stay alive, trying to heal back up. They know there's a player here at the bottom, and that Volt is doing some more damage, but receiving as much damage as they are dealing out.
Yeah, and you can see Ash trying to guard right now for the Crypto, so that way they can get back and in the right with their heals and shields. And now the Sentinels finally get out of that spot. They were dealing a lot of damage there, but unfortunately, you will see Coach still stuck as another team going to be making its way in. They're going to be joining in on the fight, and it's Dark Zero.
We've seen Senox with the Sentinel. You saw the play here before game number 6 of the 1v3, but now we see Panda with the RE45 using the teammate's knockdown shield to try to stay alive. It's not enough. Fury has eliminated Sentinels, getting that takedown, and now just trying to be a nuisance. There's a respawn coming in. Are you kidding me? Can this get any more exciting?
It actually can. They're bringing Crust back into the fight, and I feel bad for Furia because they didn't get Util dumped. They got Util demolished. Literally taking out the knockdown shield, and then Nade, Arcstar, Thermite, not in that order, all raining down on Furia. Meanwhile, we go back over to Dark Zero, who is going to be going toe-to-toe with the Sentinels once again inside of those same buildings, while Team Liquid continue to hold on to this spot on top the rock. And I would not be surprised if they try and hold that out to the bitter end and try to take the win.
Knock on top of a rock. We're halfway through a Dr. Seuss book right now, but Optic Gaming with the little bit of smoke cover gonna help them on the top of that roof, but they have a player down if they can go for that revive. And there's the rock position being forced to give it up. They had to, as the circle pushes them in. They do have this wall for some cheeky plays, lining up on the Valkyrie rockets, and they have players targeting them from every side of the circle.
Yeah, and you can see Team Liquid finally coming off of that rock. Apparently they couldn't stay there forever, as now Optic with the high ground over the Sentinels and Dark Zero, as the Sentinels are in a very dangerous spot. Somehow, someway, still standing after they went through the trouble of bringing Crust back from the dead, using the mobile respawn beacon. And now Senox, once again, having to take cover in order to recover. Keep in mind, Senox is the MVP that came through on Monday to give the Sentinels the qualifier with a 1v3 scenario. Let's see if they can make the magic happen yet again.
We talked about Dark Zero as the top of the leaderboard leading into this game, and then NRG in second, but don't count out Sentinels. They were in 4th place overall, so they're definitely fighting to be in the money, but even trying to steal away potentially 1st or 2nd place here with some great kills on the board and looking for the placement to add to it. But they have to hold on to this low ground. In the meantime, NRG gets a knock onto Optic, so we see the gunfire coming out, and this building is what everybody is fighting to gain some control.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, considering that we were getting ready to head into the final ring once this one starts closing in less than 2 minutes, they're going to be fighting for all the cover here. As you can see, the Sentinels now are trying to exchange a little damage here. They take some, they give some, not being able to get much out of it, though, except for using a lot of util. They do crack one shield, but in comes the nade for an equal exchange.
What a deadly missile from the Valkyrie there, but now trying to fall back and use a full Phoenix kit. In the meantime, HEC is eliminated. A nice little 6th place finish for them to get some more points for the overall leaderboard. Optic Gaming still holding on to high ground position.
Yep, that they are. And now you can see Team Liquid will be eliminated as well. We are down to our final 4. Dark Zero, Sentinel, Optic, and NRG.
Now this is a final 4 that is hype. Dark Zero, NRG 1 and 2, but then you add to that Optic Gaming was the 4th team. Sentinels, are they still in this at the bottom of the building? I think as the 4th team, there it is. Thank you very much. That's the 4, and all 4 of these are really fighting to be in the money. Optic Gaming with potentially the best position, but they're gonna have to give it up here in just a few short seconds as the circle forces them off of the position.
Yeah, now the smoke is down and in the mid. Optic Gaming still trying to hold on to the high ground, to the bitter end, walking off the plank, trying to make something happen out of nothing. Meanwhile, look at this spot from Duplex holding up on high. They're gonna have to drop. They have no choice. It will be Dark Zero to be eliminated. NRG still in on the mix. They're dealing out the damage as Nathan able to come through. Only 1 squad remains, and it will be NRG.
What a wild finish. Smoke everywhere. Can't hardly see anything outside of the kill feed, but NRG could see just enough. And we talked about the catalyst coming in for the final play. NRG clutching it up, and I have to look at the final overall scoreboard, but is that enough for them to steal first place after being only 5 points down leading into game 6? I have to think that it is.
It should be, but it's going to come down to the KP. That's literally going to be the difference maker between those two teams. And like we were talking about that catalyst pick, that wall is what got them the win. They were literally stuck with their backs against the wall, against the ring, and the wall gave them the ability to move throughout all the fire, throughout all the adversity, to find a better position and then come through with the win in the bitter end. Meanwhile, this 1v1, highlight of the game without a doubt, coming through with the charge rifle, taking it old school, and being able to come out on top. Furia also had a decent game, getting a lot of KP, but they weren't able to find themselves with the win here in Game 6.
You know, I tell you what, I could probably compete in this league if everybody played at like half speed or maybe like a third speed, right? Because the gameplay is just so quick, so fast paced. And if you do not have that instinctual reaction, you don't have time to make a decision. You don't have time to even think about what's going on. And here's the final circle with the smoke everywhere. There is the catalyst traps being a nuisance, slowing people down, dealing out damage. And in the end, NRG become the Game 6 champions. They're the only team here tonight that were able to lock down 2 games. Game number 3, the last game on World's Edge, and game number 6, the final game on Stormpoint.
Yeah, and then not only that, but they were literally being consistent throughout the entire night, finding themselves in the top spots time and time again. Although in Game 5, remember, they did have that 0-point game, but it did not hinder them from taking the number 1 spot. This is the total leaderboard. Your winners for tonight in the number 1 spot is NRG, followed up 10 points behind Dark Zero in the 2nd spot, and then Sentinels in 3rd, and the Guard in 4th. But the win here today goes to the KP from NRG.
A 5K split between those top 4 slots, with obviously the lion's share going to NRG coming out with that first place finish. Now, the teams coming out with points will still apply towards that final, that 20,000 final, where only the top 20 teams will qualify. Now, the other thing to note here, left side of the leaderboard, they're locked in for next week, for week number 3, whereas the right side, including FaZe Clan, I'm sorry, I gotta say their name one more time, they have to duke it out in the qualifiers on Tuesday to get back into the match.
Now, see, I think it's okay when you say it. It's just when I say it, things go awry. So you know what? I'm not going to say it because they still have to qualify next week. And I'm not trying to throw out curses a week ahead of time. I'm not going to do it. But regardless, that has been a spectacular start to finish Apex Legends A-tier tournament. That was unbelievable. Again, the highlights that we got alone were just absolutely insane, and not to mention the beautiful comms coming from all of these teams, especially TSM. Love having the listen-ins, being able to hear what really goes down in the mics when these teams have everything on the line.
Absolutely. A big thank you to Oversight and Hyperlux for putting this event together. This is only week 2 of 6 with the finals as well coming up. So make sure to continue tuning in for those qualifiers, for those 5K matches, and follow the track of these teams because any given week, anything can happen. And as far as a sign off, Captain Atsuka, I'm so glad we got a cast together. I've always been like watching you and what you're working on, whether it's Twitter or in other Discord servers that we're both part of, but as the first time working together, like I feel like this was so comfortable, right, to hop on the cast with you. So thank you for making it such a fun experience.
Honestly, thank you for carrying the cast. Again, you were just absolutely spectacular. Again, I've been following you for quite some time as well, and it was literally a matter of time before you and I got to absolutely light fire on the caster's desk, and it has been an absolute pleasure, and I hope it's only the first of many.
I hope so as well. To the production team, to the observers, admins, moderators, thank you so much for all the work behind the scenes. We would not be here if it weren't for you. And obviously to the fans, thank you for coming, tuning in, cheering on your teams, and obviously players. Thank you for giving us just an incredible showing here tonight. Amazing plays across the board. Big congrats to NRG for taking that win.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
With TSM as this action unfolds.
Oh,
I thought you guys were walking in.
they blocked us, you idiot!
I don't know that.
I'm pumping up, I'm pumping back.
Go to the door. I have a knockdown. Oh. They have an armor swap.
Weak.
I cracked two, I cracked two!
Nice.
Both full 50
Got him, got him.
Nice.
Come on, come on, come on.
Great job.